Okay, we're going to begin now, if it's okay with you, Mayor.
It's fine, yes. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining the budget presentation of this evening. I'm Mayor Dr. Renee Baskerville, along with Councilor Eileen Birmingham and Councilor Rahum Williams. We make up the Finance Committee for the Township of Montclair, and of course our manager, Stephen Marks. This evening we're going to begin the presentation from listening to our police. We have with us Chief Conforti and Deputy Chief Will Young. Thank you for being with us.
Okay, we're going to start with the mission. We're going to get into a few things, and then we'll go over the operating and the capital requests. So it is the mission of the Montclair Police Department to provide professional police service to the community by adhering to the values of respect, accountability, and integrity. Some of the goals include delivering effective and efficient police services through community partnerships that foster positive relationships, prevent, investigate, and deter crime, reducing fear of crime, and improving traffic safety through education and enforcement. The department has been approved for accreditation status for the third time by the New Jersey State Association of Chiefs of Police, which is a key component to effective delivery of professional police services. We're going to stay on the table of organization just for a minute here. First off, the table that you see up there is a department, what it would look like at full staff. That would include 112 sworn officers, 16 dispatchers, 38 crossing guards, 6 clerical, and 1 custodian. The total number of school crossing guards will vary due to the ongoing crossing studies and evaluations. We currently have 104 officers, with 2 scheduled to retire soon. Also included in the 104 are 5 officers that are in field training and are not counted towards our staffing, and we have 9 dispatchers currently. We have 10 background investigations that are completed, with 7 scheduled to attend the academy and 3 transfers from another department being sworn in this summer. For references, I pulled a roster from last June, and if you look at the roster, you'll see that we have 104 officers now, as we did last year, even though we did hire throughout the year. Over the last 3 years, the department has had a significant loss of institutional knowledge and experience with the retirement of senior officers. In the coming weeks, we'll have 34 officers with 3 or less years of experience, making up 50% of the patrol staff. While we are encouraged by the growth and development of our team, this rapid expansion of inexperienced personnel presents considerable burden on department resources. The increased need for supervision, mentorship, and on-the-job training has significantly impacted on our day-to-day operations. Compounding the issue is the recently expanded training requirements from the Attorney General's office. These mandates, while valuable in ensuring proper law enforcement practices, require substantial time and commitment from both the trainees and their field training officers. Furthermore, procedural changes at the county level have lengthened the arrest process considerably. What previously took approximately 2 hours now routinely exceeds 5 hours due to the added documentation, oversight, and processing requirements. This not only limits the availability of officers of patrol duties, but also strains the ability to respond promptly to other incidents and calls for service. We remain committed to maintaining high standards of public safety and professional conduct, but these changes have introduced new operational pressures that we are working diligently to manage. Well, you can go next one. The department is organized into 2 functions. We have the administrative and the operations side. The administrative functions include the Office of Professional Standards, Support Service Bureau, and the Training Bureau. Operations include patrol, uniform division, traffic, communications, the community service unit, detective bureau, the juvenile bureau, including the school resource officer, and the records identification evidence bureau. The department has a critical response team staffed with officers trained in advanced weapons and tactics, and members also serve on the honor guard, who perform at parades, holiday observances, funerals, and public dedications. Before we get into the requests, I just want to go over a couple of the goals that we had mentioned last year, either at a public hearing or at one of the Finance Committee meetings. We spoke last year about the ARRIVE program. The ARRIVE Together program was recently launched, and we now have trained mental health professionals partnered with police officers. We spoke about drones. We now have 2 drones and 4 operators which can assist in missing person investigations and search operations. We wanted to increase the crisis intervention training. The department has increased the number of officers trained in CIT training and has continued to send officers to this training. We spoke quite a bit last year about active shooter training. In addition to the mandatory active shooter training that the officers receive, we have introduced joint training sessions with our critical response team. These sessions enhance officer skills while providing valuable experience working alongside CRT members, gaining insight into their operations. We had a goal last year to have another substation in the community. The Community Service Unit has added a 3rd location in the community with a police substation at Lackawanna Plaza. We're looking forward to getting the ALPRs up and running. We recently received the ALPRs, the automated license plate readers, and we anticipate them being installed in the upcoming months. This will enhance public safety and locating stolen vehicles in real time that are used to commit other crimes. Obviously, every year, one of the goals is the accreditation. The department reached accreditation status this past March. And I just want to mention, I failed to mention this before, the department also spends a considerable amount of time on organizing, planning large and small events throughout the year with our OEM coordinator, our traffic bureau, and our uniform division office. And if it's a small event, regardless of the size, we always make sure that we give the area special attention. Go to operating wall. The 2025 Police Department's operating budget request is $730,350, excluding salary and overtime. There was an increase from last year, mainly due to the cost of the body camera maintenance agreement with a cost of $70,788 that was previously covered under the 2021 body-worn camera grant program. Also driving the increase was a large turnover in personnel, which increases the number of uniform and gear necessary for hiring new officers, promotions, and reassignments. Some of the larger requests for the operating budget include $95,000 for building maintenance due to the condition of the building, $189,000 in electronic maintenance, which include radios, 911 system, evidence systems, electronic ticketing, body-worn cameras, battery backup for the computer server rooms, patrol vehicle dash cams, and the interview room, $85,000 for software licenses, $95,000 for vehicle maintenance, and $25,000 in training. The software license include the internal affairs software, record management and CAD systems, fingerprinting, training, scheduling, maintaining policies and directives, license plate readers, access to local, state, and national law enforcement databases, and investigative software. Go next slide. Yep. The 2025 capital budget request is $701,000, which was significantly down from the 2024 capital request of $1,288,000. Some of the larger requests include $450,000 to purchase and equip 2 patrol and 5 admin vehicles, $80,000 for facility improvements, $98,000 for IT projects, which include mandatory changes to the 911 system and an update in our record management system. At this time, we're pleased to answer any questions regarding the 2025 budget requests.
Hi, Chief. Thank you so much, and I apologize for being late. I was having a parenting issue, so apologies. And I know I walked in when you were talking about pressures, so I just want to ask a couple of questions. One is the 5 admin vehicles on the request. Can you explain those, what those are?
Do you want me to explain that? You want to explain the condition?
So the 5 admin vehicles, over the years, we have largely been unable to update our admin fleet. We have some vehicles that go back to 2002, so they're 23 years old. And some of them, the guys just don't even want to get in anymore. Is it on? Can you hear me? Okay. There's significant engine issues, rust holes in the traffic unit pickup. One Crown Victoria that we use, it stalls out almost every time it's driven. That's our professional standards team car. We have a Chevy Impala that's over 23 years old at the Detective Bureau. It needs to be upgraded. They need that car. And we have 2 Dodge Chargers that are 16 and 15 years old with significant engine issues, and they're constantly in the shop that we wish to replace. One of them, we wish to replace the Community Policing Bureau, their community service unit, with an electric vehicle, which we're hoping that we can do that this year in the budget.
So these are different from the patrol cars in that they're not kitted
Correct.
out
They're
as
not-
much typically?
They're not marked units.
Okay.
They're separate. They're unmarked and used for other police activities.
Okay.
That'll
They-
be units.
They're using the bureaus, but storm-related, many times all the cars are on the road when we have
Okay,
certain
sure.
storm-related incidents that we have to get everyone out on the road.
Mhm.
And, large events as well, correct?
Okay. I have one other question. Do you? And I think I came in when you were discussing staffing, and
Mhm.
I talked about this during my campaign, so I do want to just talk about this a little bit, because we just, and I'm going to say this for all the presentations that are going to come, but just last week, the state released a report on the state health benefits program, the health insurance, and they're basically, they came out and said it's in a death spiral. Next year, we will have 26% increase, and over 4 years, it will be 60% increase. So these are, and we are doing, and I will defer to Manager Mark, but we are doing what we can to change that situation. But for right now, this is where we are. That cost is, 20 years ago, it was a fraction, health insurance was a fraction of what it is now. Similarly, the pension benefit payment, because as we know, there was mismanagement, the state wasn't paying into it. Now we're behind, in Montclair, we have like $100 million in unfunded liability into that system. So it really is that employee costs are rising beyond anyone's, your control, my control. It's just, it is what it is. And so I'm wondering, do we have opportunities, and I know, do we have any opportunities particularly for positions that may be more administrative and not, do you see any, and maybe I should ask, like, in a 5-year plan or something where you think there could be potentially cost savings, again, just because it's please accept this with respect.
Yeah, I
it's really just how this becomes sustainable is, how we can.
I mean, some of the positions, maybe like 1 or 2, like for instance, in Lieutenant Berardi's office now, he has someone who does all the computer networks, everything, all the software. He's Tony Phan's backup. It would probably take many years to get someone up to his level, this particular individual. He's that well trained on police-related software. And I don't think if you brought someone in, you'd probably bring him in probably very similar to his salary. That's how well trained he is. He's been probably to the same trainings over the years. Maybe there, because it's an IT position. But again, his value, being there all the time when systems go down all the time, it's needed, especially when the 911 system goes down. We've added a couple civilian positions over the years for OPA requests because it's too much for the cops to manage, obviously. I mean, most of the jobs that we have, you're either on the road or you're investigating crimes. We don't have so many civilian jobs. That we do have, like we have a sergeant who is in the ID Bureau. He does also, though, goes out on scenes and processes crime scenes. He does OPA requests. He does discoveries. He does all the licensing. There's like many hats that he wears. So I couldn't really say one civilian position would cover these jobs. There's not that many that I could think of offhand right now.
Okay, yeah, and
Yeah,
I don't
mean,
want to put you on the spot. It's, maybe we could look, again, just thinking more down the road of how we maintain sustainability, given that these
Yeah.
costs, we're just being hit with them, and
The only thing I could say is, I know you've heard this from me before, we haven't increased anyone in over 30-something years, and we've gotten busier over 30-something years. And we've tried to do less with more. We recently closed our narcotics bureau and put those officers back on the street and some in the detective bureau because we needed the staffing. It just wasn't happening. We were having problems hiring at the moment, and we had to just close it down. It's not like narcotics went away. The problem's still out there, and we try and address it differently. But we have done our best to operate with the number of cops that we have. I know recently we added a walking post now for the unhoused. It seems like that's what the governing body wants. So we put someone out there now, which wasn't included in the budget originally. Now it's going to incur overtime when it's not staffed. We're going to have to fill it. So that, along with the traffic complaints, we increased the traffic bureau. We could always downsize the traffic bureau. I don't think that's what anyone wants to hear, and put them back on the street. So it's something we'd have to really sit down and look at. But I know the number of cops is pretty much we've operated with our whole career, you'd say. 30 plus. Yeah.
okay, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
maybe we can, again, just look at it. And really, it's just for sustainable, how we deal with these costs that are coming
Right.
at us.
The other problem we run with is dispatchers. We're supposed to be
Yeah,
fully
we
staffed at
talked about
16
this, yeah.
dispatchers. Right now, we currently have 9 dispatchers.
Okay.
It's very difficult to keep good dispatchers because it's a tough job.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the process of moving the dispatch center back to headquarters. That's going to take a little bit, and hopefully that'll help with the supervision as well as making them having just a more comfortable atmosphere to work and being able to take breaks when they could. But the dispatching causes a problem in operations because we're pulling people off the
Yeah.
road many times to cover for the dispatching. So it's definitely something we juggle every day.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know we did talk a little bit about this because in Bergen County, they
Mm-hmm.
went to a county-wide dispatch. I know where my husband's from, and outside of Pittsburgh, Allegheny County has it, and it includes Pittsburgh and all of the towns around. So to me, that is something we could potentially look at in terms of how we can regionalize.
Yeah, I'd be open
especially
to
with
that if that was a
technology.
possibility. I don't know, those talks would probably have to come from
Yeah,
from you
the
guys, but
upper
I'm
level.
definitely not against that. That'd be
Okay.
great, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks. Questions?
Is that? Why don't you just go up there?
I mean, this is an easy question. I just wanted to ask, you had said that the cameras were grant funded?
The body camera?
The body cameras,
Yeah, we had a grant on the body cameras. The fund is run out now. We have to budget for that cost.
Yeah, so my question is there anything else in the budget that's grant funded that could run out or that could be withdrawn or that you know of?
No, not that I'm aware of.
No, okay.
You mentioned that you have a lot of electronic maintenance. I see in 2024 it was 107,000. Now 2025 it's 189,000. So it's almost doubling that budget. Do you know what would be the reason for the budget? To,
Right, the
to
one is the
double?
body camera went up $70,000 that we have to cover this year. Yeah.
And then as far as the administrative vehicles, how many administrative vehicles are in the town's inventory, and how many do you need altogether?
The
'Cause
town or the police department?
police department.
Well, I mean, we have many, don't forget, we have Detective Bureau, Juvenile Bureau, Community
No, it's
Policing.
just, I'm not like, it's just.
No, I'm just trying to
what's the-
explain,
what's
there's
the
many
number?
other functions.
Sure, sure.
You can say it.
There's 20 admin vehicles right now.
So you have 20 admin vehicles.
Mhm.
Of those 20 admin vehicles, 5 are biting the dust. And how many do you need?
We need the 20,
You need 20.
yeah.
So here's my issue, every time these resolutions
Mhm.
come up for buying vehicles, it always seems like it's it's just a number out of the air. Like, I feel when capital improvements are being, or capital items are being requested, you know, there needs to be a fuller discussion of, you know, like what's the 5-year budget? You know, so all that information, because when you have that kind of information, then it's much easier for people like me to understand.
Yeah, we do. I will say this, every year, this is like the 4th time we've met with the Finance Committee. We have given 5-year plans. We've met with Mrs. Rao many times. She's been very accommodating going over this. We've shown the cars many times of the outdated vehicles and the vehicles that are broken down, and some of the cars are actually dangerous driving. We present all this. This is
Sure.
nothing new.
So how many vehicles were purchased in 2024?
You remember, Dan?
I believe there were 6 patrol vehicles, a lot of them in a tactical team van.
Yes.
A lot of these cars, when COVID hit and we knew the budget was tight for a few years, we were only able to buy 2 patrol cars a year for a few years, and that just doesn't cut it because these cars are running 24/7 and are being used in emergency response situations. So we had to, for the last few years, buy more than we would normally do to replace those patrol vehicles. We would like, on average, I guess ideally we would like to do 4 patrol vehicles a year and a couple admin.
The other problem we run into is we may buy a car now, but it may not hit the road for about a year. By the time we get the car, by the time we outfit it, and like Lieutenant mentioned, during COVID, there was such a backlog in cars. It was hard getting the cars over here. But we had 1 tactical vehicle last year and then the other patrol vehicles last year.
All right, but right now we're basically talking about the admin vehicles. So this is just.
I mean, don't forget, people say admin vehicles. You got officers that are going down to court. They need a car to go to court down to Newark. We have officers that are going out to investigations throughout town, and they're all over town or out of town, so they need cars. The community policing unit's constantly holding functions. They have the Arrive program now. We're mandated to make sure that the counselor is in a police car. So I understand there's a cost there, but I could assure you the cars are there needed. If anything, we need more cars.
Right, so basically what you're just saying, though, is that 25% of your admin fleet is going to be replaced in 2025.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes, that's correct.
And I know, as you referenced, Ms. Rao has it on a schedule. She was trying to reach a schedule of replacement, as we talked about. It was patrol cars for the past few years.
She did her best. The COVID
But
messed up a little bit everybody, and she
Yeah.
did her best with that. It was a
Yeah.
difficult time for about 3 years.
Yeah, and I think the she talks also about there's a fee associated with the administration of the off-duty of the side jobs. And I think she often thinks of that as going to cover some of these cars.
Right.
But yeah, I think to Ms. Avery's point, I think we can pull together, because I've seen it in different formations, but maybe we can pull it together, like the schedule of cars, how old they are, what the schedule for replacement would be. I think that's probably.
No, I agree, and it's
Yeah.
something we have
Yeah.
provided
Yeah, I
for
know
the years.
I've seen it in different
Yeah.
places. And we could
But I do,
pull
the
it.
admin fee was supposed to, my understanding, go to buying new cars. That was what was discussed about 5 years ago.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Chief, I'd just like to thank you all for being here and congratulate you on your accreditation status. And you mentioned the closing of the Narcotics Bureau. Did you lose something that you needed when you closed the Narcotics
People.
Bureau?
We were
or are
down
you-
people.
Okay, but what does that do in terms of operations?
Well, we don't have a narcotics bureau at the moment, so we have someone, Michael Mickens, Detective Mickens, in the investigative division. If there's a narcotics case, he will get it, but we do not have a full unit. He will do the ABC investigations. In the past, narcotics bureau would do the ABC and Vice investigations. He'll get assigned those, so we have to pull other detectives to help him out, depending on what it is. But last summer, we were down many cops, and we had to do something, so to save overtime, we had to pull it in.
Because I'm just trying to get a feel for everything. First of all, we've been over this so many times, so I don't have a lot of questions here, and I'm appreciative of the fact that you haven't increased for over 30-some years. But I'm just trying to get a feel for if there are things that are in place that you can use to move over, like to the Narcotics Bureau, or do you function to the best ability? I want, the best that we can get to take care of what our needs
I mean, our
really
needs
are.
shifted a little too over the years. Traffic
Okay.
has become a major problem in town, so we've increased the traffic bureau a little bit as well.
Okay,
So we kind of juggle that back and forth between that and narcotics and detective. We're constantly juggling. Now, community policing is a hot issue with the unhoused.
Right.
We moved someone down there just the other day, but we also had increased staffing because the ARRIVE program required, was mandated that the same person be with the counselor. So we
Right.
just kind of move things around with the 112 that we have. But don't forget, I say 112. We have 104 right now, going down to 102 in about a month. And that doesn't count officers on family leave, military leave, line of duty injuries. Many, people still get COVID. Trainings, many of these trainings that now are mandated. We have a mandated training coming up that we didn't have last year for the whole department for defensive tactics. That pulls people off the road. Court pulls people off the road. So we have so many guys, and it shrinks pretty quickly.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
And do you see that the county, so for something like narcotics, is the county helpful, or do they have resources that you?
Yeah, if we have a major case, they would help us. We have a great relationship with the county and the
Yep.
prosecutor. They're there helping us out. We haven't, thank God, we haven't seen that in a little bit. I'm not saying we don't have narcotics going on in town. That'd be definitely not, that'd be a
Sure.
stretch. But, we do what we can.
Okay.
Does the county help us at all with, with our county streets and, that type of thing, or not so much?
I mean, they don't patrol up here, if that's what you mean. They patrol the
I'm
park.
just trying to
Yeah.
find out any areas that we may have where we can, utilize other.
They're there
resources.
as a resource if we need them, but they're not going to patrol Montclair streets, I would say. I mean, they may come out on some of the special events, and they'll send their deputies up here, but even that, they're spread out through the whole county. There's only so many they could help out with, so.
I think you guys
Yeah.
are doing an incredible job. Thank you.
Good?
Thank you, yeah.
All
I see
There's a question.
I can hear you. That's all right, I can hear you.
Excuse me, can you speak there because it's being televised? Thank you.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you very much.
Are the staff numbers not in your budget? Because,
You mean the actual, the cost of
Yeah.
staffing? I don't budget the staffing. I budget the operating and capital and the number of cops we have. I do not budget how much the cost. That's all contracted.
so the staff
The
and
staff-
the benefits
Yeah,
and the
that's not for me to
pension and
budget.
everything, that's not in your budget?
It's
Okay.
in the budget, but I don't budget that. The
Oh,
manager
I
would budget
know.
that, yes.
Yeah, okay, all right.
And
Thanks.
I can just read it from, because it's published in the user-friendly budget per state requirement, and it's listed for this year, police officers, including superior officers, 112, and it's budgeted at 20, the total personnel cost $23,261 and $261.83. Yeah. Yeah, that's a total personnel cost, so it includes the pension and the share of health benefits.
And that would include the 16 dispatchers, I think, too.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that,
right.
yeah.
And the
that-
38 crossing guards, if that matters.
It's not, I'm not clear that it, because it's police officers specifically, but we can check on that. 'cause-
I know, okay, yes.
Yeah, because I think there is some other, yeah, I think the way that the user-friendly budget, but we can check. I'll check on that, yeah.
Other questions? Okay, thank you
Okay,
so much.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you for helping.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. Okay, next up, we're going to have Chief Robert Duncan and Deputy Chief Michael Lizza from our fire department. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Mayor, Council, Manager. My name is Rob Duncan. I'm the Fire Chief of the Montclair Fire Department. With me, I have our Deputy Chief, Michael Lizza. We're here to do the 2025 Fire Department budget presentation. I'll start with the Montclair Fire Department's mission statement. The Montclair Fire Department is an all-hazards response and public education organization. We are committed to providing rapid, effective, professional, and compassionate assistance in times of crisis. As a unified force, we stand at the forefront of emergency response, embodying the highest standards of professionalism, expertise, and community service. Upholding our legacy of service and sacrifice, we are ready to answer the call and make a meaningful difference in the lives of those we serve. Our 2025 initiatives are to train all MFD members in emergency medical responder, that's EMR, and begin responding to medical emergencies, purchase and institute new policy management software, complete the promotional exam process and fill promotional vacancies, develop and complete an entrance exam as well as hire 7 new members, have additional members become licensed fire inspectors and fire investigators, institute a cancer screening program for firefighters. We'll discuss more of these in depth as we go along. Our facilities, we have 1 Pine Street is our fire headquarters. There we have 1 engine, 1 truck, and our battalion chief. Our Station 2 at 5888 Valley Road. That's where our engine 2 and truck 2 are. Station 3, 151 Harrison, is under renovation. That is where our engine 3 is located. The next table is just our table of organization, is how we're structured. It just goes from the fire chief, through the deputy chiefs, fire prevention, the 4 different shifts, and we just have 1 training officer. So here's our fire rescue emergency response. This is just a sampling of the type of things we respond to. It's not all of them, but it's fire suppression, motor vehicle accidents, carbon monoxide leaks, elevator rescues, hazardous material incidents, utility emergencies, technical rope rescues, structural stabilization, weather-related incidents, and that's just a sampling. We do a lot more. We also are responsible for fire prevention, and then fire prevention is responsible for New Jersey Fire Code enforcement, inspections, permits, residential change of occupancy, fire cause investigations. They report to the state fire marshal's office, building pre-planning, and they do 1,160 scheduled inspections annually. That does not include re-inspections, so you might actually have to go to some of these places, multiple times to make sure they're compliant. We also do public education. We is a proactive outreach with the goal of equipping residents with the essential life-saving knowledge, school visits, fire safety demonstrations, community events. We also provide and install smoke detectors for those in need. The demographic data from the 2020 census, the township has a population density of 6,388, that is people per square mile. The Bloomfield Ave corridor has an average population density of 12,871. This is among the most densely populated areas of Essex County. The NFPA considers a population density greater than 3,000 to be a dense urban area. This is a sampling of our response data for the past 5 years from 2020 to 2024. We've responded to 28,425 apparatus responses, and here just a sampling of it. Could be anywhere from fires, elevator emergencies, motor vehicle electrocutions, utility emergencies, responses for structural collapse or weakened structure, storm-related events, hazardous conditions, other non-fire-related rescues, and medical assists. So we'll be adding emergency medical responder services. In 2024, the Montclair Fire Department recognized the need to play a more active role in emergency medical services. A decision was made to have all Montclair fire personnel certified emergency medical response, EMR. Through training provided by the MAU, multiple Montclair firefighters became EMR instructors and are now training the entire department. Not having to hire outside instructors to train all personnel will result in significant cost savings. By strategically placing trained fire personnel throughout all sectors of town, we can reduce response times, enhance patient care, and provide critical medical interventions, resulting in improved patient outcomes. We're looking to purchase a records and policy management, partnering with a software company that will provide records management for our department policies. Updates to statutory changes that may affect our operations will be provided automatically. This will lead to best practices in maintaining existing policies as well as developing new policies and procedures. The promotional exam that we're undergoing right now this year is currently underway. It was initially estimated at somewhere between $90,000 and $100,000. We investigated an opportunity to utilize the New Jersey Civil Service Commission to administer promotional exams for our members. The test for all ranks will be completed for under $12,000 instead of about $100,000. This solution offers significant cost savings to the township and will ensure a fair and structured promotional process. We also are in the process of creating an entrance exam. The development is underway, and we're utilizing a premier testing company that has expertise in the field and will provide the best, most qualified candidates for us. As part of this year's budget, we've also received some federal grants that are part of that budget. We secured federal grants to have all members receive technical training in vehicle extrication with special consideration to new vehicle technology. Electric vehicles, advanced airbag systems are presenting new challenges when our firefighters need to extricate a crash victim. A federal grant will also be used to purchase specialized extractors and dryers, allowing for regular decontamination of firefighter gear. People may not know, but firefighters have a much higher average chance of getting cancer. So we are going to be providing cancer screenings and prevention for all of our members. We are coordinating with state health programs that provide cancer screening to all personnel at no cost to the township. Our turnout gear traps carcinogens, which is known to be a major contributing factor to high cancer rates in firefighters. A federal grant will be used to purchase specialized extractors and dryers, allowing for regular decontamination for firefighter gear. This is in relation to the previous slide, but we've already received that grant. New legislation was passed in 2025 requiring all fire inspectors to be performed by licensed fire inspectors. The state just passed this. In the past, we were able to just do the different kinds of inspections. There's LHUs, which are life hazards. Those, even before, had to be done by a licensed inspector. Now, every type of inspection, no matter what it is, must be done by a licensed inspector. So we have already trained multiple members. We brought the course in-house, and we were going to continue training, the entire department. Some of the critical infrastructure that needs to be taken care of is Station 2. It's a historical building in need of repair and maintenance. The leaking roof there is actually being replaced as we speak. It's not fully completed yet, but they're working on that. There were other repairs needed because of the leaks, and there's just maintenance that needs to be done around the building, utility upgrades as well. Station 3, structural repairs have been completed, and the bid spec for the cost of finished repairs and return Station Engine 3 to South End is being developed. We've been working with the finance to establish regular purchasing plans for replacement of our equipment that has legally mandated lifespan, the forecast for building maintenance and repair needs as well. I'll talk about that a little later when we get to the capital requests, but we have been working with finance every year because there's certain things that your gear just essentially expires. A certain gear and equipment, you can't use it past a certain date. It just has to, you can't use it anymore. It's by law, it's just end of life. So we're on a replacement plan that these things have to happen. So we've been working with, finance to just do this kinds of things in small batches year after year, which is part of our capital request. As far as our staffing, 3 separate staffing studies and facility studies have been conducted. Staffing level recommendations have increased steadily to reflect the development in Montclair. The 1982 study recommended 82 members, the 89 study recommended 89 members, and the 2006 study recommended 105 members. Those were the studies that were conducted on focusing on Montclair Fire Department, by itself. The NFPA, their level of what they recommend just universally is a minimum staffing of 4 members per apparatus. And these are just a few of their requirements. The minimum first alarm assignment for a 2-story home is 17 members. The first engine company to arrive in 4 minutes or less. Excuse me. The second company arrive in 6 minutes or less. Full first alarm of 17 members arrive in 8 minutes or less. By NFPA standards, the Montclair Fire Department should be staffed at 25 members per group. That would be 100 on the line. It does not include any administrative staff, that number. This is the fire department structure. This is different from the table organization. This is just the minimum daily staffing. So on any given day, this is what is working. We don't have, and we've been budgeted for 77 firefighters. We don't have 77 firefighters working all the time at the same time. It's just a minimum of 16 people per day. Those numbers are spread out over 4 groups. So at any given day, we would have a minimum of 16 firefighters responding to a fire if we were to have one. This is the operating budget. This slide was taken directly from the manager and finances presentation. Our salary and wages are down 2%. The other expenses, which are just the regular operating portion of the budget, they're flat from last year, even though it shows an increase. Just the regular normal operating expenses are flat. There was an increase because of the promotional exam and the entrance exam, which have to happen every few years. Overall, we're about 1.8% less than last year. Our capital budget requests are fire PPE personal escape systems for $50,000. This is one of those items I was talking about where it's just we replace a certain amount of gear every year so we don't get behind, and then you need to just replace a large number all at once because everything is expiring, and the gear is not cheap, and it takes months to get. It's not something you can just go buy one day and you have it. It could take, 9-10 months once the order's placed to actually receive it. Engine 1 for $1 million. Station 2 repairs, masonry, wood, trim, and paneling. Here again, that's just another ongoing repair. Instead of trying to do everything at once, we do something every year to keep the building updated. Station 3 renovations, $600,000. We've already spoken at length about that one, and we're out for developing a bid spec for that to find out what the actual number will be. Tools and equipment, same thing, just repairs of tools, maintenance of tools, replacement of tools and equipment that is expiring, vehicles and emergency lighting, and those are to replace 2 of our older admin vehicles. Engine 1 is a picture of Engine 1. This picture was taken last week. Our Engine 1, which is a frontline apparatus, just it actually broke down on the way back from a call. Has a transmission issue. We're not exactly sure what it is. They're still working on it to figure out what needs to happen and what that final repair cost will be. We only have 1 reserve engine. That engine was in service. So some of you may have seen another town's engine riding around because we had another breakdown. And so we had to borrow an engine from another town. Our members staffed that engine, but they had an additional spare that we just borrowed from them that we utilized because we didn't have any other spares. So we're still determining on how much it will be to fix that. But this is the engine that we are looking to replace with that $1 million. It was built in 2008. The repair costs are increasing. The parts are getting tougher to source because it's an older vehicle, which drives the cost up. The replacement request has been in the capital budget for 3 years. The cost of replacement is increasing. I know we've spoken about this before at the Finance Committee meeting in terms of supply issues and the rising cost of fire apparatus, manufacturing capacity issues, ever-increasing government requirements that add systems and technology. Sometimes it's better to buy apparatus sooner than later because they keep putting new regulations that drive the costs of these fire apparatus up. Every year something new comes out. Case in point, the emission systems. That's one of the ones we've been having some issues with because it creates a lot of heat in that engine compartment, which is causing other failures and drives up just costs. And that's that. So that's that's in the budget. And that is the end of our budget presentation. And we'll answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Can you describe a little bit more the emergency medical response that's planned? I'm just, what's the plan there? Because you won't have ambulances, correct?
No, it's just what they call in the fire service first responder. That's just what, so if one fire department says to another, hey, do you do first responder? It's yes or no. Pretty much everyone does it. So essentially, all the firefighters will be trained to a higher level of service. They're spaced throughout the town. We actually already have a lot of medical calls that just happen because it happens, kind of frequently where someone doesn't even call 911. They just drive to the firehouse. Firehouse is right there. Let's just go over there. And we don't really have the level of training commensurate to solve whatever issue it is that they have. So we essentially just call the ambulance just like they would do. And, you try to do what you can, but they're not trained to really mitigate any of these issues. So essentially, everyone will be trained to a higher degree, have a higher level of equipment that we may be able to just provide that initial contact quicker. So if someone needed oxygen, we got it on them quicker. Someone needed CPR, we can start that sooner. So it is more for those more advanced type of life-saving issues where time does matter. And if we're able to get there quicker, we're more space throughout the town, it's just a better outcome for all involved.
Okay, so you would have defibrillators or?
We already do have defibrillators, but, it's not something that we say would be asked to go out and respond to at this moment.
Okay.
And it does happen where, I know we had a CPR on the train station, right next to the headquarters. We wouldn't normally be dispatched to something like that, even though we could go mitigate that issue, even with our current level of training. It's just not something that's on our run card, if you will. So we would be adding this, service to have a better service to all the residents of Montclair.
Okay. And then this is, I was looking at the 2022 run data and all the line listing of all the calls, and I think it was something like 2,100 or 2,200 of them, and there were about, and I don't have the exact number, but it was about 1,100 that were false alarms. And in several cases, it was repeat visits to the same place, like it was the same building that had false alarms. Are they charged? I thought in our ordinance, are they charged for those once you reach a certain threshold?
They can be. If it becomes, say, a nuisance alarm system, that will get transferred to our Fire Prevention Bureau.
Okay.
And a fire official can, essentially fine them if they don't get it fixed within a certain period of time.
Okay. And then you mentioned fire inspection, and I know, was it last year that Bloomfield and Glenridge had, even though we are Glenridge's official fire department, as we've all discussed, a very low cost to them, they had some agreement with Bloomfield that Bloomfield would be doing their fire inspections. Like, can you explain what that is, or did that?
So what happened there, it wasn't their fire inspections, it was more their property transfers. So if they had a change in occupancy, there's an inspection that does and a commensurate fee along with that. So Bloomfield was doing that for Glenridge, is what was happening. So if it was a regular business, we would inspect that business, right, which is what we talk about, just the regular scheduled inspections. But if someone were to sell their property, an inspection must be completed during that property transfer, and that is paid for. That's one of the fees they have to pay for. I guess you can call it part of their closing costs and whatnot. And Bloomfield was doing that for them. That's what was happening. Now we are doing that for them. That change has, I couldn't even tell you how that started, like what happened there. Essentially, when the state found out about it, the state came in and just, said, Montclair, you need to be doing this.
We should be doing it because
Exactly.
we're the fire
And,
department.
so we were unaware of that agreement. And so when it came out, the change was made.
Okay. And then you described, and this is just a conversation that we can continue to have, but you described that Bloomfield Avenue is the densest part of town. I think that's pretty obvious that we have a fire headquarters there that has 6 bays. As we described, like you do, so that, because it's not in the middle of town, it is towards the south end of town. It's closer to the middle than another firehouse, but it's really in the southern part of town. If that engine or that truck is called, like that engine is called out on something somewhere, are we leaving then the densest part of town is it vulnerable, and should there be 2 engines there, is my question.
Well, there will be another apparatus there. That is a 2 apparatus firehouse. If everything was open and laid out, I'm just trying to interpret your question. So you're saying if engine 3 was back down
Yeah.
Station 3,
Yeah.
and there's an engine in the south end of town, the more central part of town, and north end of town. If that central engine was doing something else, would that center part of town be left open? That's
Yeah,
your question?
That's essentially.
Now, Engine 3 is uniquely located. Because of where it's at, and it has Harrison Avenue there, it's able to get places pretty quickly. And even though it is towards the south end of town, many times the north end of Bloomfield Avenue, it may get there quicker than the engine at headquarters. Because Bloomfield Avenue has become so congested, it is difficult to make your way up Bloomfield Avenue nowadays. So Engine 3 many times will make it towards the upper end of Bloomfield Avenue before Engine 1 would, which is the one that's at headquarters. A lot of the placement of these firehouses and the need for different locations is just that, right? There's train tracks that go through town, there's all different kinds of things, there's construction, all different kinds of ways that could, say, inhibit your path towards getting to that emergency quickly. So when you're converging from different directions on that one emergency, it increases the chances that an apparatus will get there very quickly, and that one incident or stop somewhere is not going to stop up everything. We know something's coming from a different direction, and we'll be able to get to that incident. So no, I don't believe. The answer to your question is I don't believe that having 2 engines there would make it better. It would probably be better to have, engine 3 down at Station 3.
Okay. And then you went through the NFPA standards, and I've looked at this a lot.
And we've talked about the NFPA.
And I know we've
too.
talked about this a lot. Are you aware of any town of 40,000 people in New Jersey or anywhere, frankly, that meets those standards?
I couldn't tell you offhand of any
Okay.
town that does meet those standards, and we don't meet those standards.
Right. No,
But
we're one of the closest towns, I think, in New Jersey that even comes close to meeting what are very expensive standards. Like, just frankly, again, back to the cost of everything. But just so that people are aware that it's not like every town in New Jersey is meeting these standards and we're choosing not to. It's most towns in New Jersey, 92%, I think, have some incorporation of volunteers and I'm not going down that road, but again, this is just, these are standards that are very, very difficult to meet, and most towns don't come there. I just want to, unless, again, I've tried to find towns, but I haven't. So, okay.
I'll do some research on that and let you know.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't found anyone that comes to what, to the NFPA, just because, again, it's, there are risks we have, you have to manage a budget, kind of. But, okay, I will turn it over to anyone who has questions. Thank you again for coming.
Hi, thank you for being here. Yeah, I just have a couple of questions. The licensed inspector, people are going to take licensing exams to be a licensed fire inspector. Does that person have to be a trained fireman?
That person does not need to be a trained fireman. In fact, we currently do have part-time inspectors that do some of the life hazard inspections for us right now. But those part-time inspectors only do the inspections in this phase. And this is something that's new, right? It's never happened, so all the departments in the state have to adjust to this. This is something the state just came out with, and we're all in that adjustment process. But so there's 2 different kinds of inspections, the LHUs and the regular in-service inspections. So the in-service inspections are the ones that are done by the actual fire apparatus. So those fire apparatus will go around town and do the actual, the smaller businesses, they call them mom and pop shop kind of things. So they're the ones that do those inspections.
The apparatus does it,
The
not a
apparatus-
person?
the
I don't
apparatus is
understand
in-
what you mean.
The apparatus
Yeah.
is in service, so they're doing inspection. If a fire came in, they would jump on the apparatus and go fight a fire.
Right.
But, while they're on duty, they do what we call an in-service inspection. They're in service, and they're just doing an inspection at a business.
With a fire truck?
With the fire truck.
Why is the fire truck needed?
Well, the fire truck is not, say, needed, but it's just with us. So say we took a pickup truck out, and we got a call for a fire.
Oh, you mean you're just got to be ready on Johnny on the spot here in case you were
So
called?
they hop on the engine and go
Okay.
right to the fire.
Oh,
That's what
gotcha.
it is. So it's an in-service inspection. They're not
Okay.
out of service, they're in service, they're doing inspections while they're in service.
That seems like an expensive response to, I mean, why don't you just leave the fire truck and have, a layperson do the inspection?
That question has come up before, and being perfectly honest, that this system is the more cost-effective way to do it. The reason being is because you have the firefighters on duty, and while they're there already,
Okay.
they're just going to do the inspection.
They're not doing anything else, really. They're going
No,
to go
they're
do the
training, they're
inspection.
doing- They
Yeah.
have a whole list of things.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
they
No, no,
do.
I don't mean that.
The
Like,
inspections is just something, they get assigned inspections.
Yeah.
And they just work that in as part
Into
of
their
the day. So
schedule.
we train from this time to this
Yeah.
time, we have inspections from this time to this time, we do whatever,
Okay.
is going on. And it's just part of their day. If we were to do what I think you're saying,
Oh, I'm
we would
asking,
have to
yeah.
hire more people, more licensed inspectors to now do those inspections. Because previously, before the law changed, they were able to do those inspections. Now the law's changed, a licensed inspector must do those
Okay.
inspections. So we need more licensed inspectors.
does the inspected party pay for the service to be inspected?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not coming out of my pocket as a
No.
taxpayer. Okay, there you go. Good answer. Okay,
Even the training you're not paying for
Okay.
because that comes out of those fees that come from the businesses. That is going to be paying for the training for the inspectors
right.
to go do the inspection. So this isn't costing the township anything.
Okay. Second question, and forgive me for my ignorance about how the fire department works, but, so you say there's going to be some promotional exams. So, I worked in the corporate world, so in the corporate world, you have you have a organization chart. And if a position, an upper level management position became vacant, then someone hopefully from below that rank would move in there. But you don't just, are you telling me that people take the exam and then automatically they become whatever exam they've passed,
No.
whether or not there's a slot for them?
No.
Okay.
It's just like you said.
Just like I said. So people take the exam before there's a slot available, knowing that they will potentially be the next one into the upper.
Correct.
Yeah, okay,
If
thank
there's no
you.
slot, there's no spot. So
Yeah.
and if there's no promotion, then the list will expire.
Yeah,
and they
okay, so you have a
new
list.
test.
Yeah, I get it. So you have a list of people who've been qualified to move up to the next level.
Correct.
Okay. So as I understand it, and believe me, I know very little about this, the fire departments in our region have an agreement with each other that they will respond to fires in the different towns. You as Montclair, if there were a fire in West Orange, you'd respond. And if there was a fire in Montclair, West Orange could respond, or will respond. So essentially, you're set up as a regional fire group. Is that correct?
Loosely what you're saying, correct.
I guess I'm trying to figure out, there's the West Orange Fire Department station that's right on the border of Montclair, or near enough. There's a Verona station right on the border of Montclair. Why do we need Station 3? If we have agreements with those two to come in and fight a fire in that third ward area.
Okay. Well, the Montclair Fire Department's sole responsibility is to, protect the residents of Montclair.
Right.
Can you all hear me? Am I close enough to this? So now, it's a good point you made, right? That firehouse in this, that one end of West Orange is close to the firehouse.
It's closer,
Now,
isn't
but
it?
that doesn't mean we're getting that engine though. So that doesn't mean that, so if we have a fire in Montclair, it doesn't mean that engine is going to respond to us. Every town sets up mutual aid how they set it. We set ours up, whereas if it was West Orange or Orange that needed help, that engine that's south in the town, that would be the engine to respond because that's the closest one, right? If someone needs help, they need it in a timely fashion.
Right.
That's how we do it. Some towns, I know this for a fact, they might have one apparatus in that town. That's the mutual aid engine or truck. So no matter where that firehouse is located in that town, that's the apparatus that goes on mutual aid. So whether if they're responding to a town on the opposite end of town, doesn't make a difference. That's the one that goes. if that engine is on another call or something, they might send us an engine from wherever. You know, so we don't dictate what apparatus gets sent to us. Also, if they have something else that is occurring, they might not send anything to us. You know, it might be something from Newark that's coming to us. So there's no, like, put it this way, the other towns aren't sitting there waiting ready to respond to Montclair. Like, that's not, you know, how that works. And it's a county system, right? So we wouldn't call West Orange anyone directly. We call the county.
Right.
The county knows what's going on with all the different towns in the county.
Right.
And they will assign, you know, a town and say, hey, Montclair needs an engine, a truck, a this or that, wherever the case may be. And then they would, you know, send that. Mutual aid doesn't always respond quickly. You know, we had the fire at Fulberg, the French restaurant, Bloomfield Avenue. The first mutual aid truck responded, I think it was over 30 minutes it took them to get there.
Yeah, but our guys were there.
Well, our guys were there
Yeah,
immediately,
so
exactly.
we didn't need them. We didn't need
Well, no,
West Orange
we
to
do.
come, right?
You know, no, we do. I mean, we needed them. And I mean, just so everyone's aware, you know, just the 16 people we have on duty, that is really what we need to make an initial response. That's what it is. So everyone who's responding when we have a fire, they are going to work immediately. You know, they are busy. Everyone has an assignment. Everyone's going to work. And, you know, they're not robots. They can't continue to, you know, go in with the air packs, change them, go back in continually. You know, they need relief. So whenever you have a fire, you tend to, you know, require mutual aid. To give you a case in point, if we had a fire at a house across the street, we respond with 16 people. New York City has, on the outskirts, you know, houses just like that. To the same fire, they'd have over 40 people responding on the initial call. So we have 16, they would have over 40. You know, so mutual aid is just a fact of life for, you know, towns like us. You know, and what we do is we have a number of people that does that initial attack immediately. Mutual aid needs to respond. They backfill the town. They come in and help us out if more help is needed, depending on the severity of fire.
Is there any attempt between Montclair and the other towns to actually change some of that, to make sure that, you know, these other towns with fire departments would respond? I mean, you're saying this is the way it is now, but can we make our fire departments in the other towns as well more efficient so that, maybe 70 firemen are needed here, and you add to the other towns, and in the region we have a certain number of firemen who can respond to the different fires?
Yeah, I mean, if we need more help, you know, we ask the county and they will come. You know what I mean? We have had large fires where, you know, Newark by themselves sends 2 engines in a truck and a battalion chief to the fire because we had a large fire. So that will happen based on our needs. But it's just a fire. Fighting fire is a time-sensitive thing, right? And that's not just fires. It's firefighter is really a misnomer. You know what I mean? We do all kinds of things. We're an all hazards, business. You know, no matter what happens, you know, we will respond and get someone out of whatever issue that they are in. We're a highly trained department. We can do more than most fire departments in our area. You know, I'll bring it up again. You know, most people can't rescue someone from the side of a cliff who fell off. They don't have the training or the equipment to do that. And that is what makes the difference, right? Someone may die essentially because care was not able to be rendered in an effective time period. And we can start that process immediately. You don't have to wait for the rescue team from Newark to come here and to get you out of something. We can start doing that. You know, so that is what we've identified over the years. And over the years, we've built this up through federal grants, different things like that, to, you know, make Montclair a highly trained department that can provide a level of service that most can't, you know, and that's where we're at right now. And we definitely would like to keep it.
So, just back to Station 3. That's been closed for almost 2 years, right?
Yep.
How has it affected you? Why do you need it back up in operation?
Well, I don't want to say it this way, but it's like, what has to happen to make it open? You know, I mean, this is one of these things where, God forbid something happens down there, and then it's like, see, we need it. You know what I mean? And just because we've been dodging a bullet, per se, doesn't mean that we want to keep dodging that bullet, you know? So, just because something something terrible hasn't happened there, therefore does not equal immediately that it's not needed. So, as I said, just because we've been dodging a bullet doesn't mean that it's not necessary. You know, I've worked down there for years, and I can tell you that there was always this feeling of you're on an island down there. It's just you by yourself, and if you have a fire that is especially more south than that region, or even to the west where the more state area is, you're in there, you're in the fire, fighting the fire before the next engine even arrives. So you're in there mitigating that situation before the next engine even gets there. So that's huge. I mean, a fire can double in size every 30 to 60 seconds. So if you're in there mitigating that issue a couple minutes sooner, it makes a huge difference.
If you had an extra $2 million in the budget, would you spend it on renovating that or doing something else?
Renovating that would be the first thing that I did.
It would be?
Mhm.
So, so there are parts of the first ward that are just as far from a firehouse as, and so I guess my question again comes back to, have we invested, do you see any opportunity for automatic aid agreements with other departments?
It's always a possibility. That could be a little interesting because that north end of town, it does involve a separate county, so that might complicate things.
Or the West Orange, that station right there, that's right there.
Yep. So, I mean, that is if I am hearing you correctly, that may be more of a township level kind of agreement, if between township administrations, if you're trying to say, I don't know, firm something up. And the automatic aid, well, let's just say this, right? Because I think there's a misunderstanding of how that kind of thing works. Normally, if a call, I think people think that automatic aid, when they're saying is if there's a call down at South End, West Orange would respond automatically, right? Normally, that kind of thing does not happen. They would only come because as it stands right now, they would come if we call them, right? And a lot of times, even automatic aid wouldn't happen just for a regular call kind of thing. And that agreement would have to be crafted to be very specific to what it is that you're talking about.
Right. I'm just wondering, because I know Bloomfield has one now with Belleville and Nutley. Like, they have automatic aid, which, per FPA standards, bumps you up into needing, potentially. And, again, I guess my question about mutual aid is, when you read, for example, when South Orange and Maplewood consolidated their forces, and they did these two consultancies, and there was discussion by the consultant that most of Essex County and really most of New Jersey now relies on mutual aid. Like, that's become standard practice. And I know I was talking to a firefighter in a different department, and he said that Montclair is very well known for sending trucks or for mutual aid, which I agree with. But if we're having issues, like if you think that there are issues with response to Montclair, is there something we need to do about that in terms of if you're saying that mutual aid is delayed to Montclair, or maybe I don't want to put words in your mouth, but if that's an issue, do we need to do something at the county level to really make sure that we do get mutual aid when we need it, or that we can also, again, other towns are, and of course they're doing it to control costs. I mean, again, like if money were if resources were limitless, like of course everybody, we could have. I don't mean this flippantly, but like you could have. You could build 5 more have them everywhere if we had limitless resources, but of course we don't. So I guess, mutual aid has become strengthened here in New Jersey, and, Morris County relies on it, Bergen County, they're all, West Essex West Essex is all volunteer, and they do mutual aid. And I I would ask you, are you saying that you think that there's a delay in response to Montclair for,
No, I don't think that in response, saying like, hey, we're gonna, Montclair doesn't need us, or we're gonna have a delayed response. I was just bringing out one specific example and just letting people understand that, mutual aid is not the same thing as having your fire department respond
Sure.
to calls. It's not the same thing. And to say, well, hey, if they're not here, well, we could just use mutual aid. And it's just, I'm just separating those two things, that mutual aid may take a long time to get here, because if we need a truck, maybe it doesn't come from West Orange or a surrounding town. It can come from someplace else. So now it may, if they're available, right? All fire departments are working and doing what they do. And if they're unavailable to respond, they may have to come from 2 more towns away.
Right.
So now there's just that delay. And that delay is not, say, a Montclair-specific thing. That's the same thing for everyone. If maybe there's a mutual aid town that we respond to more normally, say Bloomfield asks for an engine, and but we don't have one that's available right now. So now they have to go someplace else to get one. So the same thing happens to everyone. We're in large part, just like you're saying, is mutual aid. None of us are New York City. We don't have an endless supply of firefighters with, 5 and 6 firefighters on every apparatus instead of 3. So we have 3 per apparatus. They have 5 and 6 per apparatus. So they're able to do a lot more with one apparatus than we are. With one apparatus showing, they have 6 people on that one apparatus. We have to have 2 apparatus show up to get that same level of, people on the scene. But no, this is how you function in the suburbs.
yeah.
Everyone.
And that's, I think, even NFPA allows for mutual aid to meet standards. It's as part of their, when they stipulate what the response should be, because I think it is, and especially in the suburbs, yeah, as you said, we don't have a New York City system. So, again, I just appreciate you thinking through ways that we can use, efficiently other resources, and if there is something we need to do. Because I was surprised when I asked the county for, through an Oprah request, can you give me all the mutual aid calls in the county? And they said no. You had to go through each individual town, and I was sort of surprised at that. So I, again, don't know if I didn't ask correctly or what, but I was surprised there wasn't a document that kept track of it. Anyway, I think I'm finished, and I appreciate your time, and thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
Any other people in the audience have questions? I certainly would like to thank you for your services, and I'm extremely excited to hear about the emergency medical response services that you're going to pump up, and the fact that you have defibrillator and all of those things. And I'd just like to commend you for the amazing rescue that your team did in August up the Mills Reservation, and I'm sure that has to do with the highly specialized training that our team is able to have here. So I thank you very much, and I'm just very grateful that we have the wonderful services that we have here in Montclair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Birmingham, Ms. Manager.
Just so in case I end up sitting back.
Okay, now, we're down to our Public Health Department. We have Judy Hurley, and we have Director Amy Monaco with us to go through that budget, and thank you all for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, so I'm going to start with our mission, the public health mission. to protect and enhance the health and quality of life of all Montclair residents through preventative. Microphone? Okay. Is that better? Is it on? Is that better? Okay. All right. So to protect and enhance the health and quality of life of all Montclair residents through preventative activities, coordination of interagency efforts, and interventions designed to promote positive health behaviors. And then each of our other subdivisions, I'm going to just stand up here. I think it's probably easier. Each of our other divisions have their own mission. So Judy Hurley, who's in charge of senior services, will go through her mission, and then Lisa Johnson should be here later to talk about sustainability. Trying both arrows. Doesn't seem to be. Yeah, I tried to download all that here. It doesn't seem to be. Rick? I don't know if the battery died or I'm just doing something wrong. It's either up or down. Right? I can just use my phone. Okay. Just going to turn this a little bit. Okay, so health and objectives, public health objectives for 2025. So, in addition to all of our statutorily required, commitments, we decided to pick some other goals to add to our, existing responsibilities. So we had done a SWOT analysis about a year and a half ago to look at, kind of where our strengths and weaknesses were in the department. And one of the things we came up with was emergency preparedness. So we decided we wanted to do a tabletop exercise, which we did recently. We did it on measles, and we had some of the other department heads involved. The mayor and manager stopped by. We also had EOM, police, fire, and any of the pertinent departments that would be playing a role if we had a measles outbreak in town. So that was one of the things we did accomplish already this year. Coming up in the fall, we're going to be starting a community health assessment, and that is going to be the first one that Montclair has done on their own. We had done one with Mountainside Hospital a number of years ago, and then the county did one, which we participated in, but I wanted to do one just from the ground up, just for the community. And so we're going to be working with an intern from Montclair State, and we're also going to be, the health educator will play a role in that. So that's exciting because that's going to be completely new initiative. We'll probably use SurveyMonkey, we'll do focus groups, and a variety of different ways to reach people. The other thing we're trying to do this year is increase the number of residents that are trained in Narcan administration and also trained businesses. And this is with the partners that we funded through the opioid settlement funds. So that's been ongoing, and we look to do about 100 more, train in 100 more residents or business owners. Another thing, and Councilor Birmingham had asked about this, credit card acceptance and being able to have more access for residents online, so you don't have to necessarily come in to get your cat license or your dog license. You could do it through a portal on the website. So that's a process that we've begun, and I hope to finish by the end of the year. So that's on the list. We also are going to begin to analyze immunization records. And to me, this is particularly important in this time where we may see a decrease in immunizations across the board. And we've already started to see immunization numbers slip, even in New Jersey, where we always had herd immunity. We're now below that threshold, which means certain diseases, in addition to measles, we can start to see some outbreaks. So we're going to look at trends and, kind of follow that and see where we're at. And then the last thing that I'm really excited about, with our Montclair State partnership that we developed last year, we're going to actually pilot a harm reduction kiosk. And if you look at the next slide, if it works, there we go. So this is what the kiosk is going to look like. So it was originally developed during, I guess, the early years of the COVID pandemic as a way to distribute test kits. So people, it was kind of like contactless. But now they've expanded and they actually have added STI testing, Narcan distribution. So we'll be funding the portion with opioid settlement funds that has to do with harm reduction. And this is going to be on the Montclair State campus. We're going to pilot it there. And then if it seems to be, working out, then I was going to propose having one here in town somewhere, depending upon, kind of how that goes. And I'll let you, know more about it once we have it actually set up. So we're in the process of working with the vendor, and we've gotten the quote, and we should be there pretty soon. Eileen, did you have a question? Or?
So sorry, I missed. What is it testing for?
So there's a variety of things you could put in there. You could
Okay.
do everything from distributing free Narcan. You could put HIV tests in there. You could, it's wide open. Plan B, emergency contraception, condoms, et cetera.
Gotcha.
So yeah, we're going to see, what fits best for a college campus, which might be different than we might want in town.
Just curious about why we
Yeah.
decided to go first to the college campus rather than, say, the business district right here, Bloomfield Avenue.
Right. Well, because there would be a cost for us from the township.
Oh, okay. You
Because
can
it's
stop,
not.
no cost, that's fine.
Right. They're going to pay for all the non-harm reduction
Okay.
stuff, the stuff that doesn't fall under the opioid
Okay.
settlement piece.
Okay.
But that way we could see how it works, and then if, we want to spend the money on it, then we can go ahead and do that. But I figured it's a good way to try it out, and they were
Oh, yeah,
very
no, I
excited
love the
about it.
idea, yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. So I'll let you know when we have it set up. Okay. So this is our organizational chart. As I mentioned earlier, it's basically sustainability, public health, vital statistics, and senior services. So you can see here, I broke down staffing, 11 in public health, 2 are part-time, 2 in vital statistics, 6 in senior services, and 1 full-time, 1 part-time in sustainability. And that's the same as last year. Now you'll see that there was a 20% increase in staffing, and so I wanted to, costs, but I wanted to explain why that was. So I actually broke down, these were all the positions, township positions, that last year we funded with grant money that we no longer have. And so you'll see with fringe and salary, it was $292,000. And that explains the bulk of the 20% that it's going up this year, because we've lost all that money. I also wanted to just show you some of the savings over the years from grants that we've brought to the township from health grants. So we've saved $1.34 million in salaries, not just health department staff, but we were actually able to offset some other salaries. This was some of the COVID funding. We also, IT equipment, we saved about $150,000 on replacing our own computers, printers, laptops, all of that equipment. So that would have ordinarily come out of the IT budget. As you know, we did some renovations, not just to the health department offices, as well as senior services and sustainability, but we replaced all of the stairwells, all of the stairing in the 2 stairwells with rubber treads. When I got here, it was cement and metal, and so we actually replaced them so they're safer. So So we did that. So we did quite a few, improvements that didn't just benefit the health department, but also the building itself, which we know has some issues. Capital requests for this year, not very much. Vital statistics, after the cyber attack, they lost all their archived birth, death, and marriage records. And so now they have to go back to these books that are like 100 years old, pull them down off the shelf. Everything had been scanned in, and so we need to find a new system to access those. And senior services, sorry. For the senior hub, we are asking for $60,000 for furniture for the senior center. This is our O&E, which covers public health, nursing, vital statistics, and sustainability. And I wanted to, again, break out so you really have a better understanding of what is in that O&E budget. So the total for this year is about roughly $146,000. Operational, so just for us to run the office, for those 11 people that I mentioned, we're asking for $89,000. $50,000 is included in our O&E, which goes to MESH. So it's really a pass-through account. We're not really, we're not using that money. We're just paying their invoices. We give $5,000 to Montclair Community Farms, the MEC. We hold money for that commission, $1,850. So that's where we come up with the 146. And it's actually a small decrease from last year. Just wanted to show you revenue from our interlocal agreements and, any license fees that we take in for vital statistics, retail food establishments. So that's roughly $300,000 that goes to the general fund. And that's, the basic overview. So what questions can I answer?
Thank you very much. I appreciate the presentation.
Sure.
I just have one question. If you can help me understand the $50,000 for MESH.
Right.
So the Township Council last year voted on $50,000 to give to MESH for the overnight respite program. Is the $50,000 that you're giving MESH an additional $50,000? It's the same one?
That is the $50,000, but it has
Okay.
to someone has to hold it and pay them. So
Okay.
the health department does.
All right, so it's coming out of which budget now?
Our operating expenses.
Your operating expense.
Right, which
Okay.
seems a little odd because it's not really our operating expense. It's just, like I said, a pass-through account. So I just wanted you to kind of see the breakout. because it's-
Okay, a pass-through account. I
Right.
didn't know what word you were saying.
Yeah,
Okay,
pass-through.
yes.
Mhm.
Okay, great. And then in addition to that, the $400 a night they get if there's like overflow from the county?
Right, so we get the checks from the county and then we basically pass them on to MESH.
Okay.
Right, again, it's just sort of, we process them. But that doesn't even like hit our account, really, they just kind of come in and go out.
Good, thank you. I just have one more question.
Sure.
And that's regarding the, if you can just help me a little bit with the positions that came in here and as grants. So did these positions, the 5 nurses and the 2 clerks, did they exist? And then you got a grant and then you switched them to grants, or they did not exist in the township? You got a grant that provided them, and then you needed to bring them back in to the township budget.
Right, I understand. So the nurses, when I got here, we had all the nurses in existence. I don't know the history prior.
Okay.
But as far as I know, those nurses existed. 3, the director, and then 2 full-time, 2 part-time.
Okay.
Vital statistics, they've, been here, for a long time. Senior services, right, there was 1 principal clerk that we did when I had grant funding. I offered extra support to Judy's division and to Lisa's division because, they were doing a lot of good work and I thought we
Yeah.
have this grant. et cetera. So, Judy's principal clerk did become permanent. She's a huge asset. She works up to 28 hours, no benefits. But we really couldn't have done the stuff that we do without her. And then Lisa also has a part-time clerk that she's hoping to fund with some, to keep her on with some grant funding in the short term. And then, she'll, if she gets here in time, she'll talk a little bit about her ideas. Oh, is she here? There she is. Come on up, Lisa.
And I didn't really
You
want
can
to talk
sit her.
about individual personal salaries or positions or anything. I was just trying to understand which came first, the grants or the people. And so,
Right. So, right. So the two
Yeah.
clerks were grant funded, yes, before we hope.
so they came in on a grant.
Yes.
And then they were doing such an amazing job, we decided we wanted to keep them and put them in pensions and benefits under the,
Not pensions because they're part-time.
okay.
Right. And so for instance, with senior services, we've expanded, with Judy here,
Oh,
we've
yeah.
expanded services.
Yeah.
And you need people to do the programming and organization and so.
Absolutely.
where
I
we're at.
can't speak enough about the great job that you all are doing. Judy, I just think it's amazing the things that, you're doing. Much needed services for a population that is often overlooked and underserved. So thank you all very much.
Okay. All right, Judy, you're up.
Yeah, my basic question is, what are you statutorily required to do in your department? And then what are you doing beyond the statutorily required work?
Right. So I can go through each section. So,
Highlights, yeah.
okay, so vital statistics is really a township responsibility in terms of birth certificates, death certificates, marriage.
So you have to do that.
You have to do that.
Right.
And it's often just put in the health department. Then there is environmental, the inspectors. They inspect all of the retail food establishments. They, in this case, they uphold all the sidewalk ordinances, sidewalk cafe ordinances.
Okay.
They do, like if you get called about rodents, they go out and inspect that. Noise complaints.
Right.
Let's see, inspect pools, tattoo parlors, that's all statutory, chapter 24.
Okay.
Nurses, communicable disease. They have to monitor communicable disease system and surveillance 24/7. Basically, on the weekend they check it. They don't get up in the middle of the night to check it, but I would get a call if there was something, because I'm on call 24/7. So if there was something, a measles case, someone's going to stay the call. And then we,
Kick in.
kick in
Mhm.
that. So communicable disease, they also do these school audits to make sure that kids are immunized appropriately. If not, then they have to get a waiver. So they do that every year. Lead, so if there's an elevated blood level, they have to, and it's a certain range, they have to immediately, within like 48 hours, go out, do nursing case management. They check the environment. In that case, the inspectors would also go to try to identify the source of the lead. And sometimes these cases, they follow for 2 or 3 years until things are remediated. We try to get the family's resources. Sometimes we try to get someone to pay for the abatement, and the nurses have to figure out where the family can go in the meantime, which is always a challenge, like temporary housing, that kind of thing. So those are kind of the highlights of, what has to happen.
And anything other than that is at our discretion.
Right, and we have to have a health educator. Right.
The health one
Right.
person, okay?
But other than that, right, like, I happen to be in charge of the opioid settlement fund, so I've been, doing different programs with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not required.
But somebody has to do it.
Somebody has
Yeah,
to,
yeah, yeah, I
right.
get you, right.
Let's see, what else? Yeah, like some of the other initiatives. Well, the community health assessment, some of the smaller health departments right, kind of piggyback off of someone else, like the county. But because, you know, we're a large community, a diverse community, I really want to do our own health assessment to have a better sense of, you know, what really are the health issues.
But why do we need that information? People have their own doctors, they have their own insurance. What's that to do with our town?
For people that are underserved.
Amy, excuse me, can you speak a little bit more in the mic for the
Yeah.
TV? Thank you,
Sure,
I
sure.
appreciate it.
For people that are underserved, they may not have a doctor.
But most people, you know, if you're poor, you have Medicaid, right? If you're older, you have Medicare. So, and if you're employed, you have probably benefits through your company. So I'm just wondering,
Right.
is it really the town function to be doing something like that when we're in a severe financial state?
Well, the community health assessment, it's not going to cost us money per se. It's just going to use an intern from Montclair State and an existing health educator. So
That's
you
a
know, maybe
staff
some-
member. A staff
Yeah,
member,
yeah,
that would
right.
be-
We'll
okay.
oversee. Right, right.
Okay.
So, right. Maybe printing. You know, if we print some of them, but mostly it'll be online. But it will give us a better idea of what these pockets of, you know, when we know there's about 3% uninsured. So those are people in town that, you know, probably aren't getting regular health care. Maybe those kids need vaccines. We could do it with the free program for the state, the Vaccine for Children program. That
Isn't
we
there a
have.
school nurse that checks that stuff out?
No. So we do the records. So we're the ones auditing it. But then, you know, sometimes the nurse will refer them to us. Sometimes they may not. It depends, you know. Some people don't know that we have the free vaccines.
Yeah.
So that's something.
Okay, another topic, and
Sure.
Mayor Baskerville raised it as well.
Mhm.
So you have, what's it, $292,000 that was funded last year by grant money?
Right. Towards township employees, existing people.
Right, so we're not getting that grant money this year.
Correct, which is why you see
Right.
the increase.
Yeah, but, so if it's a discrete grant with discrete people that are working on the grant topic, why do we keep them on?
So most of this money was, we got, let's see, we got about $1 million of COVID funding, which was for infrastructure, for growing your health department. So it covered social workers, HR directors. It had this very broad reach. And so we were allowed to use it for existing staff. So it wasn't a grant like where maybe it's a lead grant and you have to work specifically on lead. This was really about capacity building for health departments after the pandemic, because they saw that, you know, health departments kind of struggled. And so that's why there was such leeway with this grant, that we could use it to fund all these existing positions. So
Okay.
hopefully that answers that.
Yep, thank you.
Sure. Yeah.
I compared the budgets from 2023 to 2024 to 2025.
Okay.
In 2023, we had 3 shared service agreements, and the revenue was $216,000.
Okay.
In 2024, it went down to $176,000, and now in your 2025 budget, it goes down to $145,000. So obviously, just looking at the shared service agreements, there should be a corresponding decrease in staffing, because we are not serving other communities. Also, when you look at just the health salaries and wages, the health other expenses and nursing services, in 2023, that number was 1.1 million. Then in 2024, it went up 10% to 1.2 million. And now for 2025, it's going up another 20% to 1.4 million. And I don't see the reason for those numbers to be going up when we're decreasing the services to other towns. You know, the overall impact on residents is over $400,000. And then when you look at the a sustainable local public health infrastructure, the grant amount in 2024 in the budget was $168,000.
Right.
And when you look at the reporting for what the town did for that money, it doesn't look like much. And so it just seems that this budget really exceeds the needs of this community.
Well, the sustainable grant that you're referring to was clawed back, so it's gone. So as far as that piece
Right,
goes,
so
right.
why should we continue to pay for staff when we don't have the money to pay for them?
Well, that's what I was just explaining. These grants, this was one of the CDC COVID grants. These were just grants to offset existing staff. And so these were, we didn't add staff with that sustainable grant. So and it wasn't like for a specific purpose, like I said, like lead or something. It was just to offset people we already had. As far as the shared service contracts, right. So Nutley was the first one, right, that left. And that was one of the smaller grants. Basically, that was just for a health officer. They did all their own nursing and inspections, and so that was.
Yeah, but you're not really explaining why, if we are delivering less services to other towns, what's the reason for our salaries to go up over $400,000 in a 3-year period, when theoretically, initially, we had extra people because we were serving 3 other towns.
Right. Well,
now
that's-
we're not, and our salaries have gone up 40%. And I don't see any, it's not fiscally responsible. It just is not.
Okay. Well, I'm looking from last year to this year. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, as far as from 22 to 23 or 23 to 24, but I have 24 to 25. And so I showed you all the salaries in the slides that were
Yeah, but
offset
this
by
is
a
not-
grant.
This is not a one-year analysis, right? 'Cause
But this budget meeting, I believe, is just about this year, correct? I mean, should I be pulling numbers back from past years?
Sometimes I think it's helpful if we have some comparisons, if people have concerns and questions. I thank you for taking your time to try to answer them the best of your ability.
Right.
If there are things that, exceed what you have in front of you at this time, then we'll try to get back to anybody,
Okay.
at a later date.
So if you have a specific question, feel free to reach out to me, and I can go back through point by point. But do you want me to talk about the shared services, or?
No, my
Okay.
comment is for the benefit of the manager and the council, that they should, the budget really needs to be analyzed more carefully, and if there's excess capacity over and above what this community needs, then it needs to be eliminated.
I live in town, I don't disagree.
No.
I have a question. I just want to make sure I understand this correctly.
Sure.
So your total request for 2025 is 2.3 million 89, right? That's the salaries, the other expenses. Let's call it 2.4 million. When I look at the user-friendly budget, the revenue is 109 million. And maybe some of that is passed through. I didn't look at it very closely.
Okay.
But that would put your budget at 2.18% of the total budget, of the total expenses in the town. Am I thinking about that correctly?
I don't have the
2.18%.
user-friendly budget in front of me, I just have,
Yeah.
can you?
Okay, so this discussion that we're having on senior services and health services is for 2% of the overall budget. I just want to make sure I'm understanding that. And if I were to look at the grant staffing and do the same percentage, that would be 0.27%, so less than 0.5%. You could say 0.25%.
Okay.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm understanding that.
Yeah. Amy, can I ask a couple questions? Thanks, Colleen. Can you talk a little bit about the nursing? And again, I want to always preface that this is really respect for everybody who works in Montclair. It is just that forces beyond our control.
Right.
You know, costs are escalating, and so when we talk about the communicable diseases, the outbreaks,
Right.
you are responsible for the hospital, correct? Have we had this discussion?
Yeah, right. In addition to Montclair residents, Cedar Grove residents, West Caldwell and North Caldwell and Fairfield, because those are all the shared services.
They're paying something
Right,
for
yes,
that.
yes.
The hospital, which is in Glen Ridge.
Mountainside, right, because it sits on the border there, right. We are also handling Mountainside, correct.
How busy does that keep you? Like what?
It's-
Because they must have diseases coming out of Mountainside, right? Like you.
Right, unless there is, it's not huge, because remember, it has to do with, it's really the outbreaks. So when there's an outbreak in the hospital, and they're considering that Montclair, because of the way the address, it says Montclair being the address. But if the person that is in the hospital is from Paramus, Paramus handles them. It's only when there's an outbreak in their, like, say there was an outbreak on their behavioral care unit of, flu type A, then we would handle it, no matter where the residents were, because we would be working with the facility.
So how often does that happen?
During the winter, we'll have a few outbreaks. During the pandemic, we were inundated.
Okay, so is that something we can discuss? Because that, the address may say Montclair, but the taxpayer goes to Glen Ridge.
Right.
So,
really, Bloomfield should be handling it. 'Cause
Yeah.
Bloomfield covers Glen Ridge. Right?
yes, okay. And mostly, again, thinking ahead, if we do have an outbreak.
Measles, right, avian
That-
flu, right.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good idea.
Do we do MSU as well? Or is that?
MSU is, we
Little Falls.
actually do the Student Health Center, yes.
we
It's
do.
also, I don't know what the dividing line is, but part of it's Little Falls.
Right.
So like, we only do certain inspections, like, there's a variety of restaurants on campus, and we do split that with Clifton, who handles Little Falls, I believe. So we don't do all of the restaurant inspections there.
Okay. And then can you just describe for the, and you mentioned school audits, and I'm just trying to get at the nursing, and as I think has been pointed out, it's your whole department is a relatively small part, but of course we want to, keep track of everything. But when I remember doing this 20 years ago, investigating mumps outbreaks
Right,
and
right.
going into schools and manually going through records.
All the records, right.
But
right.
today, are you still doing it manually? You can't.
You wouldn't believe, yeah, sometimes it depends on the school, it's just like a pile of papers, and you get like, this little like chair and table to sit at, and they have to go through and organize them. Some schools are very good, but they're all paper.
So they're not, because I upload now
To Genesis
online,
or,
so you're saying that most places are not.
No, it's still, they still have to go through I think because the nurses probably don't have access to Genesis, so then their nurses probably have a hard copy record that they produce for the nurse. So it's a lot, that's why I tend to count, when we do our counting and data collection, each record as opposed to each school, because it's thousands of records potentially that they're going through.
Okay.
And so it's very time consuming when they do that.
Really? Yeah. Because you're saying that requires nursing and a nurse to do that. And again, that seems like there should be a more efficient way to do
Yeah,
that.
I mean, it's partly just the way, I guess, the state has it set up, and
Okay. I'm just, and then dog licenses,
Mm-hmm.
it seems like there is, hopefully, because I know there was a report done and it suggested that there were only 1,000 dog licenses or something like that.
Yeah,
and-
which
and-
we know is completely underreported,
Right,
right?
which must be because it's
Mhm.
at least 25, typically 25 to 30% of households have dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Right. So once we're able to do it online, then we'll do some sort of communication to try to get more people
okay, and
to do that.
potentially raise, I know the fee has not been raised in a long time, but.
Right, that's another thing. Yeah, I'd like to talk about raising the fee on that.
Okay.
A certain portion goes to the state, but we can still
Yeah, and I
raise
know
the
there's a
other
max
portion.
that you can
Right,
do, but
right.
it's not even very high. It's
Yeah,
like, it would
yeah.
go from $12 to $20, something like that. It would be.
And the
okay.
cat license aren't required, so I think we have more leeway with the cat licenses.
Okay, okay. All right. And then, yeah, I mean, I think to this question around, we, this is for the 2025 budget, but just thinking ahead over years, if we can think about ways of efficiency where, again, because staffing is becoming so much more expensive,
Right.
we can look at, where, again, and this, I don't mean to say this out of any disrespect, but just, where we might be able to save
Right.
in terms of,
Right. I mean, one thing, I was trying to do last year by increasing the retail food establishment fees was, right, if you can't cut staffing, then I was trying to increase revenue. I know it's not equal, but, doubling the amount of income from retail foods because I hadn't been raised in 20 years, sidewalk cafes we need to look at again. And we talked about cat and dog. I mean, it does add up. It's not, the same. But I was trying to think about ways
Yeah.
to increase,
yeah.
revenue.
No, because I think we know that grant funding is just what existed for many years.
Yeah, we were very lucky for all those years.
Right,
But
is-
now I'm basically not
Yeah.
counting on any.
Yeah,
Right.
it's not coming back
Yeah.
anytime soon, likely. So, okay, thank you.
So,
Thank you
okay.
for being here.
You're welcome. All right. I guess.
Anyone else from the audience? Yes.
Sure.
The microphone.
With the mic.
Thanks. Using the grant money, and why are they possibly, maybe they don't need to be employed at this point since we no longer have the grant funds. But my thought was, they were working already and being paid already.
Yes.
Then
the
their
majority of them.
salaries switched over to, tell me if I'm correct or not.
Okay.
Their salaries were then switched to the grant funding. Is that correct? Or am I
So for the
seeing it-
majority.
or the program itself, or
Right,
their
right.
salaries? I'm not sure where that money was going.
So for that one slide I had showed you, let me just
Right.
go
yeah,
back, where, it showed all the different positions.
Yeah.
Let me just get back to it. Oops. Okay, so, let's see, all the public health nurses, the admin assistant, everyone except for the 2 clerk positions, which were $25,000 out of this whole chunk of money. These were all people that we already had on staff,
That's
that
what
the
I thought.
township was paying for, and we saved the township over $200,000 by
Right.
using the grant funds to offset their
The money.
salaries.
Okay.
Right.
So that's what I thought that you were saying, but I wasn't absolutely sure.
Right.
So my question is, so these people already had jobs. There was a need for them already.
Right.
Yes? Okay.
Yes. Mhm.
So did they get paid more? Did they get assistance? Were they doing the same jobs
So,
plus
right,
this?
right.
How did that?
How does that work? Right. With this grant in particular that we were using, it was just to pay for their salaries to have them do their statutorily required work. because it was just a way to help health departments after the pandemic. So they weren't taking on an additional job of, I don't know, doing some particular outreach or
Okay, so there weren't additional jobs, it was just.
additional
the payment was
responsibilities.
shifted
Right. They was just
from-
saving the township money, basically.
Okay, so is their job still needed, is what I'm
Yes,
asking?
because they existed before the
Okay,
grant.
that's what I'm
Yes.
asking. It's not like they were, you
Right.
know, new people or people who were just doing
Right.
the work, or hired specifically to do the work that the grant
Right.
was funding.
Except for the clerks, right.
Okay, except for the clerks.
Which,
Okay.
again, is such a small amount of money. And I felt like, you know, with this grant money, part of the purpose was to build infrastructure and capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was doing that by supporting Lisa's department, sustainability, and Judy's department, the senior services.
So again, now my next question is, so if they were no longer working there, what would happen to the work that they were initially doing before the grant was paying their salaries?
So you're talking about the
Since-
township employees.
Yes, since there's no longer a grant paying them, if they no longer work for the town, then what happens to the work that they were doing prior to the grant funding?
Right. Well, like say for the nurses, for instance, we would probably have to cancel the shared service agreements because we wouldn't have the ability, because we wouldn't have the staffing to do the work,
Okay.
for instance.
And that
Um,
was being done before the grant.
Right. That was being done before the grant because
Is
we
that
had-
necessary work that they were doing? I mean, they were hired, but I don't know.
Be-
if
Yes, because it's all this statutorily
it's-
required.
okay.
Right.
So
right.
someone has to do that work. Is that,
Someone has to do that work.
okay?
Right.
Okay,
absolutely.
and now the township is resumed paying for it
Right.
instead of the grant?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
That's what I was trying to find out.
Yeah, tease out. Sure. No, I'm glad you asked. Thank you.
Yeah, so you have to include 2023 with this analysis because the grant started July 1st, 2023. So you can't have this conversation without looking at 2023 because even you have to go back to 2022 because the question is, were the people on staff already? So your answer based on looking at 2024, oh, they were on staff already. So that is, if you had the data
Right.
for 2022 and 2023, the staff, you need to do the same analysis of the staff that you're presenting for 2024 and 2025. You have to go back to 2022 because, in fact, from whenever you got the COVID money, how many staff did we have before we got the COVID money?
Right. I wasn't here, so I can't
Well,
answer
but
that. Right.
The data exists, right? No one's asking you that, you know this off the top of your head. But that's the analysis that must be performed because to say that these people were already on staff when they were covered by a grant in the prior year, you don't get to the same answer. And plus, when you look at the numbers don't make sense. We have fewer shared service agreements over just the 3-year period that I looked at, because that's all the time I had today to devote to this. And when you look at salaries, our salaries are up 40%. So the statement...
Well, I'm not sure what you mean. Our salaries are up 40%.
Yeah.
You mean
Between
in
2023
raises or
gross dollars. We're talking
in the
ab-
health department or across the board? You're talking
just
about?
in the health department, up $400,000. So I think before this budget can be approved, we need to see the statistics going back to pre-COVID, layer on the grant monies employees that were added by grants, and then we can determine what's the right size for this town.
All right, well, that's something I can talk to the finance, committee about. Okay.
Can I ask you one last question?
Sure.
Do you see opportunity for county resources for help, for example, with mental health and I know you put together a mental health resource package or something like that.
Right.
But for that and also for help with the unhoused population, do you see, for example,
give me-
what we're hearing is, that the Montclair Ambulance Unit is responding to, people in crisis or people who,
Right.
that they're called to, and then they're brought to Mountainside, and then they're sort of
Right, it's just like a cycle.
it's like
right.
a cycle. It would, if we could do better, but again, for a town of 40,000 people, it's not something that we can put endless
Right.
or a lot of resources into. Do you see opportunity from the county, which is
Right. I mean, we've been exploring that. It doesn't sound like anyone has that many resources in that area, but we're trying to see what we can do. I think it's mostly going to come from private funders at this point, any help that we get.
okay? Okay.
So,
Thank
but we
you.
are looking into it.
Yeah, thanks.
The schools have been moving toward a community school program where they've been providing health services,
Right.
not only to the school children, but to the families in the community.
Right. Right.
Is there any sort of symbiotic, shared services that you guys could do with the schools to provide services that would kind of cut costs? That might be something to look into.
Right, right. No, well, we'd love to. We work a lot with Tina Lagala, who's the nursing supervisor, on a lot of different initiatives. She was at our tabletop exercise. Yeah, that's something we'd be open to exploring.
There might be some cost savings.
Okay. Is that it? Can Judy go?
Yes, thank you very much.
Tough crowd here.
Yeah. All right, I'll be the mic runner. Yeah, I'll be the mic runner, yeah. Oh, that person. Yeah. Okay. It's fine. I can.
Well, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I feel like I should get you up to stretch for a minute,
I'm
breathe,
in. Okay,
move
let's do
around.
it. That's
Can you
right.
do it?
Yes,
Just
let's
get up
do
from your chairs and just like take a breath. You've been here for quite a while. You don't have to. I know you're giving me a hassle over there. Don't, I'm not forcing
I
you.
was standing already. I'm ready to sit.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Whew. Okay, well, I'm Judy Hurley. I'm the Director of Senior Services, and I've been here for 2 years. So maybe some of those salary issues with the health department have to do with hiring my position as well as the social worker position, which has come in during that time period. But I'm not going to open a can of worms with that. I just want to throw that out there. So our mission is to build a diverse, age-friendly community that prioritizes kindness through enriching programs and services tailored to promote physical and mental health, creativity, and lifelong learning. Our little catchphrase is Lifelong Montclair, where community and health come together. And our goal in this community for seniors is really to make sure that their physical health is taken care of, and their mental health in a variety of ways. So for us, we have a few things that when I first got here, I did a survey that went out to over 1,000 people, and we got a really wonderful, I felt like, statistically important response rate. Was over 500 people responded to the survey. And it was done based on a survey that had been done years before when we applied for an AARP age-friendly designation for Montclair. And Montclair was one of the second, actually, communities in the state to be designated as age-friendly. So I took that survey that was done for the seniors at the time, replicated it with the use of an incredible intern from Montclair State University, and we put that out, and the results were really interesting that came back. The number one concern for the seniors in 2023 was to open a senior center. They also wanted to enhance transportation, and they wanted to have intergenerational experiences, which has been really our goal since then. And the way and the philosophy of which has always been the way that I've worked and the way that I believe this township, which I'm a resident of and really enjoy living in this place because of the community that exists and building communities. So there have been a group of nonprofit organizations that we have partnered with, and we could not exist without partnering with people. So when I say open a senior center, I will go into that a little bit more, but in order for seniors to stay healthy, both mentally and physically, we need to bring the services that they need to them in a way that they can access them. So we need to bring digital literacy to them. Because nowadays, you go to a doctor and your information is on your portal. Well, if you don't understand how to access your portal to even make an appointment, you're out of luck. You need these for your banking. Nobody goes into the bank anymore and writes checks. There are all the codes, there's all the digital things. You go up with your iPhones and, you pay now without any cash. I mean, for goodness sakes, we're going to have no pennies anymore, right? Those are all gone. Pretty soon there'll be no dollars, That was a joke, but it is. We aren't going to have no pennies. Anyway, our whole goal was to take a look at how we can, and that's a facility that we could take a look at. I know that's an issue, but I'm going to skip over that for right now. So opening the senior center, there were 3 resolutions that were done by 3 different councils since, I don't know, the dawn of time. But the past one was really important because there have been times when the seniors have been a part of this community that has given back in volunteer hours and in serving on nonprofits and have been a great access to information and referral. They are experts in the town, so we want to utilize all of the skills that this whole part of the population has. So to open a center, wherever it is, we need to have a place where other seniors can come and have access to information, referral, housing, transportation, information about digital training, literacy, where we are partnering with and not duplicating services. And that has been a model that I think the seniors have really done a wonderful job with, is developing these partnerships. In fact, we have designed and developed a collective, which we have put together as a nonprofit organization to raise money to develop more services, because the seniors are, we are the fastest growing population in the country. And that's something to really, you want to plan ahead 3 years. Well, you think ahead 5 years or 10 years, and there's going to be more seniors than there are children in school. So this town has that level of, I believe, progressiveness, and has always been a progressive town, to look forward thinking and start not planning anymore, but doing. So, and how we do that, we have options, I believe. So, okay, so that's opening the senior center. The other is enhancing senior transportation program. Right now, again, through the collaboration and partnership that we have with the county, we have established this pilot program that has been here, that they pay the majority of the funds for seniors to be transported to their doctors, to appointments, for free. And we started off with doing shuttle buses and things, and then it moved into, after COVID, to Ubers and Lyfts, and now we're kind of in between of a mix of doing Easy Ride, where we have a contract with them. In doing this senior transportation program, we not only are bringing people to doctors, but we have now the program where they have 20 free rides to go anywhere in Montclair. And that is a very conscious decision to help the businesses in Montclair and, work hand in hand with people in Montclair, so that we're bringing the seniors to the restaurants, to the hair salons, to the things that they're using, and not just going outside of the town. But we've been really fortunate to, I really believe in data collection. It's really important to me to look at the data. And we've been able to track a lot of those, all of the rides. And what came to be is that we were bringing a lot of our seniors to Mountainside Hospital for their doctor's appointments. A great deal of money is being spent to bring them there. So I went to Mountainside and I talked to them about developing a partnership with them, so that we could get some funds back from them to help us with our senior program. And they're very open to doing that. We will be writing a proposal for them. We are also able to look at where we're taking the seniors for shopping. So we are delivering seniors to ShopRite as the #1 store. ShopRite was just sold, and we are meeting with the new owners of ShopRite to try and work out a partnership with them to help bring in revenue for that. So the data that we do collect is really important, but it's time consuming, and it is it's takes some women power to do that. We are also looking at, we have a couple of shuttle buses that we take seniors to from group settings to grocery shopping as well. And we're looking now to take those shuttles and move them around, not just for the senior buildings, but into the whole community where there are groups of seniors living in different apartments, not just in the senior buildings, but throughout the community, and starting up new routes. I have a very good relationship with the director of the transportation, who I'm meeting with actually tomorrow to come up with some new routes, so that we'll be starting that program. We are the only town in Essex County, and actually throughout the state, except for There's one other town, Asbury Park, who has the kind of program that we have in the pilot program, in terms of providing so many free rides on demand. So the on-demand part is very important for our seniors because they all have their individual issues and going to different doctor's appointments at different times and things. So it's hard to corral that into a shuttle. So it's important. The number one, the rides that we have, I'm skipping around here, but the tracking the rides, you can go to transportation. In 22, we provided 24,637 rides to seniors. In 23, we provided 44,431. And so this, we are growing immensely, and we are only serving 955 people for those rides they come in and they register with us. We have 29 people with disabilities that we also serve. So that's another community that really doesn't know about us as much as, they need the services. Okay, the other thing that we are working on is and the council will be getting a resolution we hope to get through, is to establish a membership program, because we serve people from not only Montclair, but we serve people outside of Montclair that come to our town for program services like exercise and art and music. And we feel like we are able at this stage to now provide a way for them to add to the revenue. So we're going to start a membership program. We will figure out the costs. We're comparing them to other towns, but we want to be able to give something back to the seniors who live in town, so they will pay much less. And they will, people from out of town will pay a little more. We're not looking to make a lot of money off of this. It's not going to be a huge, because we know that they're fixed income. But go back to the next slide, was just so that you know kind of who we're serving. In 2024, we had 22,012 people that attended our lifelong Montclair programs. In person was 18,654. The virtual attendance, which we started during COVID, and we still do that because there are a lot of people who can't get out, who don't have access, physically to leave their homes. There's 3,358. The number of classes that we offer and events was 332 classes, or 322. 103 were mill classes, and the mill classes are also, we have a partnership with the Partners in Health, where they give us a grant to provide expertise in different areas, so that we hire teachers and trainers and artists and dancers and people to come in and help do the classes, because we literally only have 1.5 staff who do program. So we could not do that. We are also starting first I'll say, so where we do our program is, we started off at Edgemont, which is at Edgemont Park, and it's a free, the town owns it. We moved, expanding because we had a long waiting list, and we wanted to expand our diversity, and we moved into Wally Choice Community Center, where we hold a majority of our classes there now, and that is free. It doesn't cost us anything. We made a great partnership with the county that they give us that. And we also have a wonderful partnership with the library, and we have services at the library where we have a variety of programs that we offer there for free. It's Monday through Friday, our services. Okay. move on. We do have a social worker who, we have one social worker who provides part of the classes. She does meditation class. She does a lot of health-related, mental health programs to our seniors. She also does presentations in the community, and she does case management. And the case management is surrounding mostly the number one call that she gets daily is about housing. There's just, our seniors are being displaced. They are losing their, they're losing because of the rent increases. They are fixed income. They can't go up on these, even when we do have rent control. They're being, they can't make the ends meet. We also, I got a call today. I talked with a woman who's one of our people. She has a Section 8 voucher, but cannot find an apartment in town with her Section 8 voucher. So what we're trying to do is work in partnership with all of the other services in town. And Lissy has done a fabulous job of working with the Coalition for the Unhoused. She works with the mental health organizations and Salvation Army. We also provide food at our centers. For lunches, we provided over, 1,000 meals just this year, just in 2025, through Tony's Kitchen. And we provided 2 days a week at the Wally Choice Center and 1 day a week at the library. So we have a lot of seniors who will take, say, Easy Ride, and they'll come out, and that may be the only meal that they get for the day. So that's that. The budget is just the O&E budget is increased because we're going to need we haven't really updated any of our program supplies either. So, we have a program that our staff went and did training called Project Healthy Bones, which is really an important program for seniors who have osteoporosis, who have trouble walking. And the results of this program, it's 8-week program or 16-week program. And it's been amazing to see the results physically for our seniors who are able to let go of their canes. They've been able to get around better. And so physically it's been a success. But we have to have weights for them. We have to have, supplies. Anyway, so that the increase in there has to do with updating supplies and some of the supplies that we would need when we open our senior center. The AIM, our ARP, MGAP, and Do Drop In, others, those are things that we're hoping for in sharing our services with them for mailings, focus groups, and collaborating as a collective. We have $30,000 in for our program, which are the people who come and do our classes for us that we pay, and for our trips and all of the offerings that we do, exercise, all of the kind of programs that we provide that are listed in the next one. There's money for SCAT, which is no longer a real program. However, we have our own kind of SCAT. It's not done by the council. It's actually through the collective now. And we usually have an annual conference. And so we put aside some money for that. The senior transportation contract is in there. And so that's that. And then the last one. So the senior services, the senior center. So we know that the town, that we have no money. We keep hearing that. But as you heard, it is such a small percentage of what the the whole budget for the town is, for the senior services. So I understand the idea of leasing is not something that we, may or may not want to pursue a lease because it is so expensive. However, if we don't lease the space that we have already, I really strongly encourage that this does not go back into the drawing board, that we find another space that we will have, and it doesn't stop. I mean, our preference is that we continue where we are, but I don't want to see what's happened in the past, where we say we're going to do this, we get it all set up, and then the money somehow is no longer there. So, and we had set aside money for this. We set aside $60,000 in last year's budget. It's in this one for the furnishing, and then a staff person. It doesn't have to be a full-timer. It could be 2 part-timers. We are also establishing a volunteer program, which we have started and has been successful so far. We want to expand that so that we can make, additions for we don't have to be hiring people. We can use volunteers. Okay. Any questions? Oh, okay. 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 Now your turn.
Maybe I missed it, but I believe that you have you're dedicated to the senior services, right?
Correct.
And you said you have a social worker?
The social worker is, the majority of her time is because of the needs of the town are in senior services, but she does work with the school system.
Oh.
She works with MFEE.
Mhm.
And so she does do other, she works with Adult Protective Services, not just seniors, but with other adults. She works with the ambulance.
Okay. So my question was, in the budget here, I don't see salaries for staff.
That's
I?
in the health department.
Oh, so that's in the health department. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Mhm.
The other thing I had a question about, I think you said you serve 955 people?
No, those are the people that are registered to
You
use
said-
Easy
yeah, yeah,
Ride.
yeah. Use Easy, serve them with Easy Ride. And you
Yes.
mentioned there's 29 disabled people?
Correct.
Are those senior disabled or
No.
separately disabled?
No.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
No.
That was it.
Okay.
You made a comment that, that the county lets us use Wally Choice for free, but we pay the county taxes.
Well, of course, yes.
So
Yes,
it's not
okay.
free.
Kudos, yep.
Now, as far as this, the senior transportation, you're saying the budget is $175,000. Is it are we paying that whether we use it or not? Is it a use
well,
it or
we
lose
use,
it?
let me, I know I have it here. Last year, the cost for the transportation was $766,376. The county paid the balance, which was $591,376, and we paid our $175,000. So
And this is this all the Easy Ride, or is it something in addition to the Easy Ride?
it's Easy Ride, and our shuttle, we get the 2 free shuttles.
So the shuttles are part of the $591,000 that the county pays?
Correct.
So the 175 that's in our budget, is that money going to the Easy Ride company?
Well, it goes to the county,
Oh,
and
so the county negotiates
correct.
everything.
They have,
So it's
They are giving
I'd
us an
like-
incredible deal.
Well, again, we pay taxes to the county,
But yes, we do.
so.
We do.
um,
But I will remind you that everyone in the county pays taxes to
Yeah,
the
I
county.
understand,
And we're the only town who is getting this type of contract with the county transportation.
well, I think that should be verified. Now, the other question that I had as far as this Easy Ride, shouldn't that be based on need? You know,
It
you're
is
gonna-
based on need.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean,
Okay,
every senior who wants to do it has to come fill out an application,
mhm,
and they have to, be over 60.
mhm.
And if they want to go anywhere outside of the county, they have to give us their doctor's information, and we contact the doctors. We make sure that there's no, fraud happening.
Yeah.
And we do provide some trips to like Social Security.
Sure. So the reason why I'm asking is because somebody, I was walking down the street, and somebody stopped me and was very insistent that I sign up for this program because it's free, no matter how many times I told her, I drive myself. I don't, it's not something I need. And she was very insistent that there seemed to be some excess capacity. So that was the reason for my question. So
Okay.
thank you.
You're welcome.
When Ms. Avery said need, I thought you might have been referring to financial need.
No.
It's nothing. There's anybody, no matter. But that's
No.
not what she answered, I don't think.
No, we don't have a financial need. We have, if you are able to drive your own car, if you don't need the services, we talked to you about that. That this is for people who, primarily, who can't get around without
help.
a ride, help. Yeah. There are some people that, take it. And it's, again, we want this to be an age-friendly town, so we're trying to promote seniors to get around and to access all of the wonderful things about this town. You can have a wonderful, filled with all of the, restaurants and fairs and great things that are happening, but if you can't get out of your house because you have no transportation, it's not a great town.
But none of this is income-based.
It's not income-based.
Yeah, so if you are a 1%er, you can get Easy Ride or whatever. Thank you.
You could. Yeah, turn on.
I would like to speak in support of the senior services lease. So I'm a volunteer. For about a year now, I help people with their cell phones and their computers and their watches. And these are most of the people that I help have difficulty using these devices. So I think we have a lot of people volunteering in the group that I'm in. And one of the things I do, for instance, right now I'm storing all the watches in my basement. We meet in different places. We have trouble coordinating the times and places where people are supposed to come, how to get there, what day are we in Edgemont, what day are we at the Wally Choice. So, and we have a lot of hard time communicating amongst each other, trying to help each other learn better skills at helping people learn about these. We need a place to meet ourselves occasionally. So we need a lab where we can actually learn, like I could sit down and learn how to use an Android watch as opposed to an Apple Watch, so I could help somebody use their Android watch. So we need a central location. It doesn't have to be gigantic,
Right.
but we really, really need this. And there have been so many years that we've been asking for a senior center. And so to hear that there's actually a choice or a thought that we're not going to be able to have the senior center that we all have our hearts set on. And as the collective, that all these groups came together to try to figure out how we could work together and raise funds together and have a nonprofit so that we could actually have one place where we could meet. So it's just breaking my heart to hear you say that this is under consideration, so I have to speak up.
Yes, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did. Thank you. I'm not saying that, as far as I know, that there's been any decision made. I know that there's been a lot of talk about, not having a lot of money. And I know that there is, other areas other solutions that we might be able to use, I think. I'm not even sure about that, but my goal is to open a senior center and a place where we can have, computers and have a space to meet. We have all gotten together as all these different groups and are really, joined together so that we are communicating. That was a goal that was set a few years back, so that we're not duplicating, that we can help each other, and we have been doing that. Also, another goal of that is a shared calendar, and we have started doing that. And that's really important, so that when people, want to join something, that's not so disjointed. It's over here, it's there, it's there. I mean, the places maybe will still have Wally Choice, we'll still have Edgemont, we'll, still have the library, but we need another place where we can have services.
Yeah, and I just wanted to reiterate all of that. This community has been working on this project since before 2008. It's been, as Judy said, 3 different councils. Our population of 55 and older makes up 26% of the total population in town. Nearly twice that of the school population. And as Judy pointed out, this isn't going away. This is a nationwide problem. And we as a progressive community should be stepping up to address it. And the fact that the previous council voted for this, and the fact that work has already begun on the space, we can't imagine that this will not continue. As Karen said, it would be beyond heartbreaking. It would be a slap in the face. So I just want to reiterate that this is something that the entire community deserves. This is something that is important for the entire community. Not only will it provide services for seniors, but it also brings more people into the center of the business district. And where they go after they leave the center, they go to the restaurants, they go to the small businesses that are in that location. And the other thing that I wanted to mention was that having the center means, yes, we have classes all over, right? But having the center means this is where I can go. I have an issue with housing. I know I can go to the senior center. I have an issue with transportation. I know I can go to the senior center. We're talking about health screenings at the senior center. So it's a central location that anyone who has issues can come to. Everything's all in one place. So I encourage you, please vote for this.
There we go. You can hear me okay? So sorry, the main red flag that I heard in regards to available for housing for seniors, particularly those who have Section 8 and they still can't find some place to live even with a voucher. What advice do you give them in that circumstance? I thought it actually was a housing meeting.
No, it's a great question.
Yeah.
We're putting together, and we have different lists of landlords that have, again, this is a resource that person didn't have, but a list of landlords who have rented use for Section 8 housing in the past. We are working with the county on a group where we have a group chain where if someone in any of the towns have openings or people need help like this woman does, that the other towns are giving us information about what they have, because it is not just a Montclair issue, the lack of housing. It is throughout Essex County and throughout New Jersey. But for this one particular person, she is now working with our social worker, and we'll be working with our housing people to get the list and start calling. And our social worker will help call the different places to try and help find her someplace that will get a Section 8 that will honor her voucher. That's the best we can do. We don't have any, stockpiles, but we do have phone numbers and experience.
Thank you. As currently proposed, the senior center would be in a part of a larger community center, which has the value of intergenerational contacts and experiences that I think we have all established as being very good for seniors, and probably pretty good for the younger people as well. There's a cross feed there that can be valuable to both, and I would very much dislike to see that disappear. I want to say in this August I'm going to turn 89, and I want to see this to be achieved in my lifetime.
Yes. Yes.
Any other questions? That's not.
I realize from what I'm hearing that there's some financial issues for the town in general, and so there will have to be some cuts, obviously, to some services. So in place of that, my thought is maybe we need to really start thinking bigger, not just involving agencies that would ordinarily offer some sort of connection like the county or whatever, but actually go to, I hate to say the word, corporations, if that's possible, and see if there's any charitable contributions that could be made, so you might have to put somebody's name on something, but
No, it's a great.
we gotta do what we gotta do here to care for all of us.
Right.
So
Yeah, that's a good point.
Anyway, that was my thought.
That's why we went to Mountainside as a for-profit hospital. And so, the town bringing, their patients to that hospital, they should take some responsibility and give something back. The same thing with ShopRite. We have data to show how often we're bringing and how many people. And when I brought that to them, they were, oh, huh. So, they need to get in the picture with us too. And we have to do some more competition. Well, we'll just have to bring them to Acme, yeah. But
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that all the individual nonprofit senior groups do apply for grants, and grants have enabled us to do some of the programs that we've been doing, particularly when it involves tech training skills. And the reason that we formed the collective, the Montclair Modern Aging Collective, which will serve as the board for the center. It includes the town and the Montclair Gateway to Aging in Place, Aging in Montclair, Do Drop In. Am I missing anybody? No. Okay. As a nonprofit, then we can apply for other grants and we can do fundraising. So once we get the commitment to the senior center, there will be a lot of fundraising going on. So you can be sure of that.
Good point. Yes, I didn't say that. Thank you.
Good points.
Okay.
Up here.
Oh, okay.
I just want to say quickly, and I think you started with this, and I think it's appropriate to end with it, that, the services that you provide in terms of, I always think we have, there's been the traditional public safety sector, but really what harms people, and particularly seniors, are very often mundane things, like falling in their house. Like, 1 in 4 seniors will fall every year.
Right.
And falls can be catastrophic. And so the service, that I was talking to your social worker who was, what is it called? Healthy Bones?
Healthy Bones, yes.
Healthy Bones. I would encourage every Montclair senior, I was saying I want to take it, but, these are the things really that, and then isolation is the other,
Absolutely.
really,
Yeah.
these are things that are not always so dramatic, but they are the things. Like,
Yes.
there's a lot of data to show that these are the things that harm people and, prevent them from thriving. So I want to, thank your office. The senior center, we have to talk about, not necessarily because of money, but we have to have an open conversation, and it won't be done tonight, but it should be done. But I do want to just emphasize, your department is small but mighty, like in terms of the things that, again, that you're delivering for seniors. And
Thank
so,
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Anyone else? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Oh, she's with you also. Okay, so 3 for. Poor Michelle.
Hello. So it's almost 9, so I'll try to make this quick.
Thank
and everybody
you.
wants to go home soon. I'm Lisa Johnson. I run the Office of Sustainability. And my mission, the mission for the office, I'm too short. The mission for the office, advance strategic, equitable, and measurable environmental solutions to reduce the township's ecological footprint, build community resilience, and create a greener future through inclusive engagement, innovative programs, and strong partnerships. So environmental issues affect everybody, and it's something that my office and sustainability focuses on. So some of the goals and objectives for 2025 is obviously continue to identify opportunities to support our mission. Strengthen data collection and impact. We're so busy, so just to rewind, it's me full-time in the office, and I do have a part-time helper. So to strengthen data collection impact, we're so busy with all of our programs and projects, we don't always get to that part, which is really important to really let everybody know what we do. And then obviously build internal capacity is what I'll get to in a minute. So just to let you know everything that we've done since 2023, these are all the grants that we've either written and received and are currently managing. And just so you know, everything that we do, I get grants to do it, right, in my office. So I don't ask for money except maybe to go to a class or something like that. But for the most part, all of our initiatives are paid for through grants. And a lot of those grants also offset what has to be paid for by the township anyway, like the tree grant. We have to plant trees, we have to have them arborist, we have to hazard prune and remove trees, and that is covered through the USDA Community Forestry Grant. Because we're doing so much, for me to do it by myself, it gets to be a little bit overwhelming. And like I mentioned, I do have a part-time assistant, but my request is to have a full-time assistant. And right now, there's 2 grants that I have that offset that salary. The first one is a Sustainable Jersey grant, and that's good for a year. That's for $25,000. And then the second one is our Clean Communities grant, which we get every year. It's about $93,000 a year, and we are able to use that for salaries to support the program and its initiatives. And I do have the tree grant. However, there is some questions on whether or not it will be able to be modified so that I could use it for salary. So my request, again, everything that I do, I get grant money for, and I'm able to do a lot of stuff with it, is for some internal support. Because in order for me to continue getting these grants, not only do I get grants for my department, I work with other departments. I work with different working groups, commissions, committees. In order to continue to be as productive as we have been, I really do need some internal support. So my only ask is $18,618 to cover the difference between those grants. And if I'm able to get that tree grant modified, which it's still in a what if, then I wouldn't even need that funding. But just to secure it right now, it's something that I'd like. And then as far as the Sustainable Jersey $25,000 grant, that is only good for a year. So that is another discussion we can have for 2026. So that's pretty much it. Again, I don't want to take up too much time. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Question,
Yeah.
please. The 18,618, does that cover pensions and benefits if you're bringing someone on full-time?
Yes, so that's
Okay.
the 55,000 for the position and then 13,618 for the fringe.
So what's the 18,618?
So right now I have 50,000 to cover the salary, so then we have an additional 5,000 for the salary, and then the fringe, which is $13,618.
I'm sorry, were you finished, Mayor?
Now, how long is this? How long do you have the grant for?
So the Clean Communities grant is in perpetuity. That is, until the state says no more. The Sustainable Jersey grant is for 1 year. And then again, the tree grant, if we get the modification, that's going to be for another 4 years.
Just so I can understand, if we're doing this, right, if somebody comes on now and you're asking for 18,618, then next year comes, and then what is the plan?
So we could
then?
even do a temporary full-time position. So we have it, right, Amy?
I'm sorry.
No? Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to just make, because we do a lot with grants, right? And I'm just trying to figure out, so this is for a year, and then what are we doing after that? And then if somebody,
So
I
can we
don't
have
get
a-
it.
can it
If
be
they
a-
come in our pensions and benefits system, then what happens the following year?
We would either need to find another funding source or
Yeah.
So the thought would be that the township would be picking this up. I'm just thinking longer than just this 1 year, right? Because we've seen a lot of positions grants, and by the way, I'm really excited about everything you all are doing.
Thank you.
But we are also charged with trying to make some decisions with a very little bit of money. And whether it's a little or a lot, we have to know as much information as you can give us so we know what we're getting into.
Sure, yeah.
And I don't know that maybe the person is fine, okay, give me a job for a year and then I'm going to go away. Maybe they're not, but it would be helpful if we knew after that grant goes away what you're thinking. And if the thought is and that the township would pick it up, then it'd be nice if you just let us know that, because then we can either decide that's something that we feel like maybe we will, or where we are today, maybe we can't.
Yeah, I would love it if that is something the township could do, but if it isn't, it's something that I understand that there are limitations to the budget. And I will continue to work to find other sources of revenue through things like grants that I can offset this. But if you said to me, we can only guarantee it for a year, I'd be ecstatic. If it was, let's have a conversation as the year goes, as things move forward, I'd be happy with that too. But I just know right now that, we're busting at the seams. We have so much work, great work that we're doing. All the grants that you see that we have, and just to manage those gets to be overwhelming. So just to have that full time, help would really make a difference.
Oh,
Can
yeah,
you
you know, I'm very much aware of that, and I appreciate it. I'm up there all the time. I see what you're doing, and I appreciate the grants that you get, like what you're saying, beyond just for your department. So it's very much appreciated. I just want to know, you know, what happens next, because that's just a short period of time, and we keep incurring people coming on that came on grants, and I want to try to plan ahead for that if we
Sure.
need to.
Yeah, me too.
Thank
Can
you.
you go back to the grant page that you showed? So, do you foresee, given the current environment that we are in, a difficulty in maintaining this level of getting grants? What's your sense? Do you have a sense yet, or?
There's still money out there.
Okay.
There's some funding sources that have been cut. Obviously, the Inflation Reduction Act, but there's still a lot of money out there, and even, you know, private sector too.
Okay. And one of the things that we did discuss, because we talked about, there have been a lot of trees planted in recent years that have not been maintained or need to be, you know, pruned, and so given that we have this grant where you will be planting trees, we had determined that this year we would focus some of our the DCS funding on properly, trying to properly maintain some of those trees.
Yeah, this grant's paying for that too.
Okay, good. All right. And I think, okay. How many trees do you anticipate? Do you have a sense of how many trees?
So the minimum that I put into the grant was we'd have to plant a minimum of 100 trees per year.
Okay.
In addition to what we normally plant.
Okay, great. And so that grant is still active
here.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
So yeah, so the grant covers, again, things that DCS would normally have to do: hazard prunings, removals, tree plantings, health assessments, inventory, the cost for the arborist, all of that.
Yeah. And can you just give people a sense, because I remember having to do this, how much work is involved in being part of grants, like just in terms of what you have to produce or what you have to, display back in terms of, to show that you're using the grant responsibly?
Yeah, so it depends if it's reimbursable per month or per quarter. You've got to do a report, whether it's per month or per quarter. You've got to, meet with the grant managers and go over the deliverables. So there's quite a bit of work to go in that goes into managing a grant and making sure that it's actually being done. That's always the hardest part. You get it, and then it's the maintenance of it, and it's the executing of it. That's the hardest part. So I'm great at writing, getting grants, but it's always the next step, right? So that's where the additional support really will help.
And in terms of our climate action plan, which I know, do you have a sense in terms of moving us forward on that, like electrification? I know that you've done some work on that.
Yeah, so again, going back to the grants, the Clean Fleets grant supports that. The EEBCG, Clean Initiatives grant, supports that. When it comes to recycling and waste diversion, the food waste and composting grant, obviously planting trees, stormwater mitigation, all of that is included in this. So everything that I've been doing is in line with what our goals are in the Climate Action Plan.
Have you given any thought to maybe a sustainability utility or something like that? If there would be any benefits to it? I know a lot of people are doing utilities and trying to make things work in dollars and cents. You haven't had any discussions with that?
No, but it's something to consider, though. Yeah. I haven't thought about it, though.
Okay.
Yeah,
I know Maplewood started a stormwater utility. You gave us that. We got that presentation.
In fact, that's what that was making me think about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Questions?
Sure.
So we have this ordinance that, to remove a tree from private property, you have to get a permit. But who's doing the follow-up to see that, once you've removed a tree, you're supposed to plant a tree? And I can tell you, there's many, many properties in my neighborhood where trees have been removed, and it's months and months, if not even well over a year. No trees have been planted. So I don't know whose job it is to enforce that the trees get planted, because it's obviously a critical matter.
Yeah, I believe that's code.
So,
Is it-
and I've submitted Oprah request.
Yeah, that would
And
go
the
through.
Oprah request, it just sits there,
Yeah, that's DCS. That would, I think, have that information with the permits.
Yeah, but no one is, what I'm saying
I-
is, no one is following up
I agree.
at all.
Yeah.
It seems to me that's like sort of comes under sustainability, but.
If I had more staff, I could do it. You just made the argument
But the
for me.
ordinance has no teeth. You know what I mean? So it's like, we say we're doing things, but we're really not doing things.
So I know the Environmental Commission is reviewing the tree ordinance, and one of my observations is there's no motivation or incentive to plant trees, right? So if I planted 20 trees and my neighbor planted 0, in 20 years, if I have to take down 10, then I have to pay to remove those trees, and I might not have any space in my lawn to plant 10 more trees. So I think that the ordinance definitely needs to be revisited, and we need to think about how to incentivize tree planting. And part of the tree grant is an education campaign that we're doing with Montclair State University with their green teams to help educate the residents on the importance of trees. Because a lot of people, like you said, remove the tree, don't put it back, but they just don't know why they need to put it back. Yeah, yeah. Again, that's code, that's not my department.
So I have a
Yeah?
question or a point. First of all, for 1.5 people in your department, you're doing a great job getting money. Wow, I'm really impressed with that. And thank you for your hard work on that. And I do know from experience how hard it is to monitor grants, to write the grants, and how happy you are when you get a grant. Anyway, so my question also is about trees. Do you have an opinion on a shade tree commission? Whether we should have one, whether it makes sense? I mean, I don't know a whole lot about it. Maybe you do.
I think it's definitely helpful.
Is it helpful? Like, what do they
Because-
do? Yeah.
Because you have people who are giving opinions and doing research and looking at what other townships are doing and looking at best practices. And that's something that not all of us have time to do unless you have a group that's dedicated to it. And so I do think if we have residents who are willing to be part of it, it's something we should look into.
Could it be substituted for an arborist?
No.
No?
Definitely need an arborist.
Why?
Well, the arborist knows the health of the tree. They know, I mean, it's years and years of education and learning and certifications that just your residents aren't going to have.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anything else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
Okay, we have one more on the agenda for this evening. If you're going to need to leave, please do it quietly because we're going to try to go through recreation so all of us can leave. We're really excited to have Michelle Camarata here with us. She's the Director of Recreation and Cultural Affairs, and she's going to go through the recreation budget. Thank you very much for leaving quietly so that we can move forward with the rest of the presentation. Thank you, Michelle. You're up. Everyone else is going to be polite.
Okay, good evening. I'm sorry, I don't know, allergies are attacking me, so I'll be sneezing and coughing, and I have a nice raspy voice, I guess, from pollen. Recreation and Cultural Affairs. I guess Mr. Morg saved the best for last, right?
Yay! Woohoo! Woohoo!
So our mission statement for the Department of Recreation and Cultural Affairs offers year-round recreational, athletic, and cultural programs for all ages and abilities. The department serves the interests and welfare of all residents through programs that encourage healthful and active lifestyles, provide opportunities for learning and enrichment, and help foster a sense of community. We strive to offer a wide variety of activities through innovative programs and cooperative ventures in order to continue building recreational opportunities while enhancing the quality of life for Montclair residents. Recreational sports are activities pursued for enjoyment, physical fitness, and social interaction, prioritizing participation over intense competition and often involving less stress than a recreational sport. So that's why sometimes you hear about these travel teams and they're going here and there. In recreation, we're not saying we don't have travel teams. We have a few, but all of our programs are recreational and are meant to engage all of our residents in town to engage them. So our staff consists of 5 full-time people, and we have 1 vacant opening. We have an activities coordinator position that has not been filled. So we have 2 secretaries, an activities aquatics coordinator, okay, there we go, and then myself. We also employ about 100 temporary seasonal employees for our various sports programs, activities, summer staff. It's crazy. We have so many different programs, and this is what we have to do. We also have about 140 volunteers, which are non-paid coaching staff, but we still have to oversee them because they need certain certifications and stuff in order to fill those roles. Okay. Okay. Our recreation budget. So as you can see, the changes. So of course, our liability insurance, there's nothing we can really do about that. It's going to go up approximately 13%. I do work along very closely with our JIF and go over our programs and what we have and what we don't have anymore, and we kind of move from year to year of what the rates will be. So our parks, recreation, and cultural affairs budget for 2025 is $218,000. And our recreation programs budget is $211,550. So a 7% increase on the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs, and a 2.6 increase on the recreational programs. With that, I'll give you a little bit of a breakdown. So for instance, recreational equipment, our budget line item we're asking for is $29,000. Our pool facilities with materials and supplies, which is stuff to keep our pools going, to keep them running according to code, is $30,000. Our recreation supplies operating account, $67,000. Cultural affairs programs, $28,000. Special programs, including the 4th of July, $45,000. Our baseball and football program expenses, $44,000, and we have a recreation sports official account at $19,000 because we have to pay for officials and referees for our sports. Okay. Want to go to the next one? Okay, so unlike many municipalities, our sports programs are offered directly under the supervision of Montclair Recreation. So there's many, many municipalities in the area that they have a baseball league that's run by parents. They have a football league that's run by parents. They have a soccer league that's run by parents. And the recreation department really kind of just is not involved in those things. We are. So, the rundown is huge. We run basketball, baseball, softball, cheerleading, cross country, fencing, field hockey, football, which includes flag and tackle, gymnastics, lacrosse, sports camps, skiing and snowboarding, soccer, tennis, track, ultimate frisbee, volleyball, and wrestling. We also are open to any programs that anyone brings to us that we say, hey, listen, is there something that we could do? The kids have a little bit of an interest, which is the new one is our ultimate frisbee. I had never heard of it. The couple of parents kind of pitched it to us. We tried it. There's some kids involved in it. It's kind of fun, and they have it right now up at the high school as a club team. So might be something on the horizon. Okay, the next big component in our department would be our salary and wages, okay, which we're looking as an increase of about 5%. So on that salary and wages is the full-time salaries of our department, which is only 5. However, the rest of those salaries are all of our part-time salaries, okay? So none of our part-time and seasonal employees receive any health benefits, anything like that. They're seasonal employees. However, from year to year, and the reason we need the increase is because of minimum wage. Okay, minimum wage goes up every year. We have to stay in compliance, and in order to pay the kids that are coming on the going rate for minimum wage, we also want to increase that staff returning and give them a little bit more based on the percentage. So that's how we pretty much go about it and budget for it. So Recreation and Culture Affairs actually has quite a big income. We've brought in 2024, $470,000 and some change. This is due to our registrations, some permits that we give out, our pool registrations and that kind of stuff. So we are also responsible for handling all of those fees coming into the recreation office. In 2024, we had over 6,500 residents registered for our programs. So that includes children as well as adults. We do run a lot of adult programming. There was a total of over 31,000 resident visits to our 3 swimming pools last summer. Our events saw an approximate attendance of over 5,000 people. I never quite knew how to gauge an attendance at events. And this year at our Winterfest, there was a DJ that was on, and he said, "Oh, you have 2,000 people here tonight." And I said, "How do you gauge it?" He said, "I've been doing this a long time." Which is kind of nice. We have operated for several years on a very limited budget and a reduced full-time staff, but we still maintain programs and activities and events along with new recreational activities for all ages. In fact, I have Nada doing the clicker for me to move the slides because the other 2 people on my staff are out at programs tonight. So pretty much you see us out there on nights and weekends and holidays. We don't get any of those things. Volunteerism is limited, and it's becoming increasingly difficult to recruit coaches for our sports programs. Sadly enough, there are times we do not want to cancel any of our sports programs, any of our teams. I have a great staff. They will just step up to the plate and do it themselves if they have to. And then there's times that we do pay them. We bring in a paid coach just to make that sport run. We do offer financial support for all of our programs and activities, and this is in alignment with the free or reduced lunch program with the Board of Education. We, as long as they bring that form in to us from the Board of Education, we look at it in the way that they get their lunch program. We don't need to see tax returns and all of the nitty-gritty they get it, and they get it for the year. No questions asked. Okay. Yeah, where am I? Okay, so just to give you a little breakdown of what there is. There's 3 municipal swimming pools, which are open during the summer season from Memorial Day weekend through Labor Day, and registration is handled in the recreation office. The department is responsible for the hiring of pool staff, daily scheduling, and pool maintenance, along with the DCS, which handles some of the maintenance as well at the pools, our water testing and certifications. All of our staff are certified lifeguards with proper CPR and AED training. We make sure all of our staff is CPR and AED trained, okay? So there's no one who's either volunteering with us or being paid seasonal that does not have that certification. Recreation and Cultural Affairs is also responsible for the township-sponsored events, like our Holiday Winterfest, our Spring Egg Fling, Memorial and Veterans Day ceremonies, September 11th and July 4th parade, which I'm proud to say is one of the largest in the state of New Jersey. We assist with events not sponsored by the township, okay? And we work very closely with those groups to make sure that they're able to do their event here in Montclair as long as we can, along with our police and fire department. They're a great assistance to us. I mean, recreation is probably the one department that works with everybody. We have to. I like it. I like that interaction with other departments. We would not be able to do what we do without engaging them. We also work with the Wellmont Arts Plaza to maintain the 12 free outdoor concerts and events that was in the contract. We also have band concerts performed by our Montclair Community Band and Serendipity Cafe, which are all under our direction. We offer a full day summer camp program, sports camps, and tennis lessons. Our camps run from late June until mid-August. We have weekly trips for our day camp program, and they also get daily swimming. We usually service about 100 to 150 kids in our day camp program. Our office is also responsible for issuing park permits, field schedules, and working in conjunction with the Board of Education to secure facilities for activities and programs. We have a very, very strong relationship with the Montclair High School Athletic Office, so we can kind of go back and forth and say, we need to use this at your building. They use us for stuff, so we really have a great relationship with them. And we schedule and maintain a shared calendar so we know what's going on. Okay. So, and finally, recreation is important for all ages, but it's especially crucial during children's formative years. I think some of you who have been at my previous budget presentations have told you that I never thought I'd see the day. You know, at the time, the township manager said to me, Michelle, we have to go out and we have to close parks. You have to put locks on the parks. You have to put locks on our fields because we did not know what we were up against. I never in a million years thought that that was going to happen, but I will tell you, a few months later, we regrouped. My staff and I looked at each other and said, we have to get our kids out there. And I don't know how we're going to do it. We'll do it. I worked along closely with our health department because kids need to be in socialization and recreation and need to be outside. So we did what we had to do. So that's why socialization opportunities through recreation are needed to support their social emotional maturity into healthy adulthood. Being involved in the recreation department a very, very long time, it really truly is a vital part of our community, fostering well-being, social connections, and a stronger local environment, making it essential for thriving in an inclusive Montclair Township. I will tell you this in conclusion. The other day, someone came into our office, and Garland and I remember him as a young boy. He's a dad with kids, and he said, wow, I had my first job with you guys. I remember being in camp. You know, it's just great. It's great when you say that, and I really feel like we wouldn't do what we do if we did not love what we do. Any questions?
Pick 'em out.
No, nobody? Yes. Do you need a?
Michelle, thank you, and your staff does a phenomenal job. And I mean, these programs are so vitally important to prevent people from feeling isolated, all of that at all ages. I do have to ask, do you have an idea of how much it costs to upkeep each of the swimming pools? Like one, do you have an idea of that?
So this is, it's expensive, okay? So I always say 3 swimming pools, 3 times the staff, 3 times the chemicals, 3 times the utilities, 3 times the maintenance, okay? So in a perfect world, I would love to see one really great municipal swimming pool. I really would. I know we did not start out, our pools started, I guess Brian can attest to it, back in the, I guess, the 60s, right? Yeah, they were neighborhood pools. Okay, so they put them in and they gave, you know, kids in neighborhoods a place to go to swim, and that families didn't have to drive and yada yada. And then nobody wanted to do away with that little neighborhood concept. Okay, so here we are, hence how many years later, we're in 2025, and we have 3 swimming pools still going. Okay, they're not big enough really to take on the capacity of the residents of Montclair. So if we ever went to the model of having 1 swimming pool, we would have to find that central location. But I would love to see a really great 1 municipal pool somewhere.
You're wrong. I can walk to my swimming pool. I go to a town pool and I can walk, so I love that. But I did want to know if there were any like actual numbers that we could be provided with, just in terms of how much.
Yeah, I have, you know, from our department, so don't forget, we work very closely along with community services. So some of the maintenance stuff. So, but I would be able to give you chemicals, staffing. I wouldn't be able to give you the utility bills. That would probably come through out of, I guess, finance, right, of what they are there. But some of that, everything that we do the same at each pool. So if we're running swimming lessons at Mountainside, we're going to run them again at Essex, and then do them again at Nishwain. So we don't have one pool that's our favorite. Everything runs exactly the same, but it is very, very costly. So that's why our summer staff is very, very big, because just for pools alone, we probably have to hire 80 seasonal personnel to staff our swimming pools.
Michelle, do you see a time when we could introduce that people who are members of the pool could bring guests from out of town, or how do you see it?
Okay, so I'll give you a little bit of history on that. And so our pools are funded by the Montclair taxpayers. Okay, some pools, and you spoke about a utility before, are run as utilities, okay, which means they're self-sustained, and they need to raise those funds to, you know, pay their staff and what happens there. I hate to even say it, but there was a time that we had to hire security for our swimming pools. It's a sad day when staff is threatened. It's an even sadder day when there's fights breaking out at the pools, and we found that this was happening because there were guests coming from out of town. So the way the system works right now is they're issued a badge, which is a swipe, almost like you use that, you know, with the barcode. So when they swipe in, their picture comes up on the screen. It also gives us that we have the accountability of who's coming in and out of our facilities. We did have an instance last summer that one of our lifeguards was verbally assaulted, and they threatened him. They left the pool, and we were able to make that positive identification because we pulled up on, who had come in. So sadly, that's, what we are. I know a lot of people want to bring friends from other places in, and we just found that this was the easiest way to maintain what was happening, is that all of the people using our pools are Montclair residents.
And then just in terms of, and I know I'm gonna cut this short, but for training, do you, just in terms of the economics of becoming a lifeguard, if you're a teenager, do you pay for their lifeguard certification, or?
So we did. When we had a lifeguard shortage, we would reimburse them for their certification. However, they had to commit to us for the season. They just couldn't work for 2 weeks, because once they receive that certification, that's with them. They can go and it's for 2 years, so they can go somewhere next year. So that was the only way that we could hold them into saying, okay, we'll give you a reimbursement. You work with us for the summer. I mean, there was no way we could bring them back the following year. Some of them did return. We're not doing it. The cost is very high, and we found that we are able to fill the jobs now without reimbursement.
Okay, thank you.
You mentioned the activities coordinator position. Are you looking to fill it and you just have not filled it, or for budgetary reasons?
We haven't filled it for budgetary reasons. Right now, I'm trying to fill it part-time, but the more and more activities and events that we seem to have, it's kind of to the point now I would like to fill that position and into what it was. So the activities coordinator would help with the events and some of the other, because we have so much more programming now than we ever did. So right now it's myself and the superintendent of recreation and the activities coordinator / aquatics coordinator, because he handles the pools in the summertime. So we have so much going on. Luckily, I'm able to bring in some part-time, seasonal, but it would be really nice to have a full-time person for that.
So the aquatics and the activities is the same individual? It's one person?
Same
It's not
individual.
two
In the
separate
summertime,
people?
he oversees the 3 swimming pools, yes.
So the
Yes.
activities would be the types of things that you mentioned that are going on in the township, or what exactly is the
Everything. It's all of our
activities
sports programs, all of the events. So this is our big season right now, which is happening. So for instance, the 4th of July parade.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the one who's organizing the 4th of July parade. I don't have any help with that because my other staff is involved in other things. They will help. I have the secretarial support. Thank goodness there's a 4th of July committee, which I hope they're not watching now, but there's only a few of them left. I'm so grateful for them because they do so much. But it's a Herculean effort to put that parade on, I have to honestly say, and with the picnic. So it'd be really nice to have that extra, full-time person for all of the things that we do, because we've added so many more activities and programs over the last few years, much to our, we want to do it. We want to do it more, especially when people come in and say, hey, what about this? Or hey, what about that? Or we see something in another community, we'll try. We have never turned anything down. And if we always reevaluate our programs, if something's really not working, we just don't put it out there and say, okay, here you can come play, whatever, squash. And we only have one person registered, but we're going to put it in our repertoire of programs. We say, hey, listen, this is not something the community wants. Let's fill it with something else.
Awesome. Thank you. I think you're doing an amazing job. So
thank you
so much.
All righty.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle, for all that you're doing. It's
Anybody want to
important.
help
Thank
with
you.
4th of July?
Yes.
No, I know you do. I know. Okay, thank you.
Okay, that concludes our evening, and thank you all for being here, and thank you to the presenters. Thank you. Take care.
We're done.